and then we'll move to approve the agendas. There's no changes to them. And then we'll go through the meeting minutes for April 3rd, 2018. And we have two presentations today. One of them is the National Equal Pay for Day Proclamation. And I see Romero has tagged for it, but I don't know if...
Yeah, it's Heather Grubb from YWCA.
Oh, yeah,
she will be coming, and she will be part of that proclamation.
Yeah, she's been here before.
So I will just go ahead and introduce her.
Okay. And the other one is the...
And the 4-H, I'm not quite sure who's coming, but I will...
Diana Olam.
Okay.
But I almost guarantee you Aaron is not going to...
No. I'll get the name out. I will introduce her as well.
Kicking and dragging it up here. She's not going to do it. So, and I think there is a dog coming with Diana.
Yeah, I think it's part of the... a little
I don't know what kind of dog. Chihuahua or...
Well, you know.
Hot dog. Huh? Hot dog. No. Hot dog. So, any questions on the proclamations? Okay, so how about the opportunity for the public to address the board?
We have not received for the last couple of meetings any particular testimony from the public, and I don't expect anything today, but who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like that.
And based on the agenda, I don't think we have any particular items that might be controversial to the public, but
all right.
There's always an open door.
Oh yeah, actually I noticed some veterans are going to come speak.
Okay, that's good.
But it's not anything contentious. So. They want to tell us a little bit about housing and that kind of stuff. All right, county manager's update.
I don't have any item to follow up. We have not received anything in particular.
Okay, sure. So we're at consent items, and so commissioners, as far as the resolution reclassifying the position, which is public information supervisor.
Yeah,
we talked about this one last time.
Yeah, you review most of those items. Item 3A of the consent agenda is to reclassify an existing public information specialist to a public information supervisor, and this is an attempt to start restructuring the commissioner's office and also how the PIL group should be working a lot more efficiently. This particular action required going from $6,524 a month to $7,173 a month, which is $649 or 10% a month. And this particular positions are funded by the indirect allocations of the budget.
Okay. Any questions on that? We've had it before, so should we? All right, I'm on 3B. CPED.
Item 3B is again one of a handful of strategies that Josh Cummings is trying to implement on his department, as how he's finding efficiencies along the way, particular to resource allocation. This particular item is reclassifying a position from assistant planner to a permit assistant technician 3, and this is an impact on an monthly of $5,908 to $5,103. That's a reduction of $805 a month, or 14%.
Any questions? No. All right, 3C, the prosecuting attorney has one.
Yeah, you also reviewed this in the past. This is a proposal by the prosecuting attorney's office to reclassify a legal support coordinator to a legal support manager, with the purpose of trying to divide the administrative and operating functions of the office. This particular item has an impact going from $5,900 a month to $7,163 a month, or $1,243 a month, or 21%. This is an effect on the top scale of this particular position. But I have been talking with the prosecutor's office, and the actual impact to the budget is going to be only 5%. because the person who is going to be moving into this position until this person gets to the top of the scale of the new classification, it will take probably close to 10 years. And they planning to cover with salary savings. As you may know, 2 high-level prosecuting attorneys were elected judges, and also 1, I believe, retired as well, or was elected, I believe, in Los County. So those are the ways as to how the office is planning to fund this reclassification through salary savings. So they're not asking for any additional general fund allocation.
But there will be an ending fund balance reduction.
Yeah, that will be the consequence. And this year will be probably $296 a month for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
Not very much. There is probably billing to the next year.
Okay.
We'll absorb in the current year, but in the following year, the positions are funded at their new level.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
You got it? Good. So that's now 3D, Community Planning and Economic Development.
Yeah, there's another request from the CPED department to reclassify an existing associate planner position to a senior planner position. And this is, again, an attempt by Josh Cummins to start structuring his department to better deliver the work that he is responsible to do so. This item includes $6,524 a month. It goes up to $7,532 a month. That is an impact of $1,008, or 15% increase a month. And this impact is going to be funded by the fee, permitting fees. This is not funded by the general fund.
Any comments on that? It's by the fees, not by the general fund, so.
Oh.
All right. Okay, doke. You got it? We're good. So,
Item 3E
Yeah,
is
3E.
your weekly approval of the voucher list.
okay. So now Public Works is quick flame deed for WSDOT.
Yeah, DOT has a project plan at the intersection of SR 510 and Meridian Road. They plan to build a runabout. And as part of the normal process, there is when county roads intersect at state highway, the local jurisdiction gives a quit claim deed on the area where the project is going to occur until the project is completed. And as a result, at the end of the project, the state deed back the areas to the county. So this is, again, the first step on that process.
Pretty easy.
Yep, pretty
I don't know why
simple.
you need a commissioner's thing on that, I guess. All right, the next one is removal of some trees on county right
Yeah,
away.
you reviewed this item also last week. This is based on the Thurston County Code 13.56, where it requires a board approval when the department or anybody wants to remove more than 3 trees. In this particular case, they're asking to remove 3 trees on Mackenzie Road southwest. My recommendation is to move this item in the consent agenda. I don't think it needs to be much of an explanation. And I believe Commissioner Edwards would like to see the opportunity to lessen this particular actions by the commissioners and changing the code so they don't have to come back and get an authorization by the board.
That's a whole code thing there.
Yeah.
Well, what would it take to do that?
Well, we need to add it to the docket.
Yeah.
So is it a big thing, though, just to add it to the docket?
No, we can add it, Doctor.
No, we can add it. It's going to take time. That's
Yeah,
all.
but I mean,
We can't do it till next year.
right, but I mean, at least we've got the process in place, and when the time comes up, we can change it to 10 trees or whatever.
Josh was here last week, and I believe he took notes to include it for next year code amendment.
Okay, I mean, it shouldn't increase any workload to change a 3 to a 10.
But
I don't know that that's what we're going to do, but I'm just saying, I mean, the bureaucracy
It will
is
be
so...
a workload.
Why? I guess I would question why it needs to be a workload. It can't just be added on to something else.
We can add it to the docket.
We can add it to the docket, but you need to give that direction and approve it.
It's
And then you're
a
gonna have-
typical rip-off of the taxpayers' money to me, to have to have this type of minutia oversight.
Look, we can add it to the docket. That's a
Okay.
way we do that. But it's going to have a public review, a legal review,
Yeah.
all that review that comes with it. And then
Planning commission.
that is the
And
standard
you're right,
way.
the only change is perhaps
That's normal.
5 words, but the process to change the code is what it takes time.
You're absolutely right. Yep. There's just no way of getting out of that over
So we're subservient to the bureaucracy of government, basically.
It's the process.
Yeah.
It's the process.
Okay.
It is the process.
Well, I'll just
Like it or not.
note my dissatisfaction with the way government seems to run sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
You have to have a public process anytime you change a code, no matter what. You want a legal review, no matter what. So.
Well,
Do you want to put it on the docket?
yes, I
If
do.
it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, we would like to have
Yep.
put it on the thing for next Thursday.
And I'll work with Josh and add it to the list.
Well, at least we can get that done in a snap.
So my suggestion will be to move to consent. As opposed to
Yes,
department
yes, I would agree.
I'll save Hutch another reading.
About me.
Yeah, it's all about you, okay? Okay, I lost where I'm at. Where am I? We're about trees. Okay, I'm on
C.
C. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Resolution for seal bids. Okay.
You
here
also
we go again.
review this item. This is a request to go with seal bids to secure costs for various asphalt materials for the annual road operations for public works. This again is an annual basis. At this point, we don't have a dollar amount since we just going to be negotiating in terms of quantities, whether it's tonnage or cubic yards. And then the actual work will be, the actual amounts will be determined of the type of work that needs to be done this summer.
Yeah, sure.
And the Director of Public Works is here if you have any questions.
You have any questions?
No, sir.
No, I do not.
All right. So we're going to D, which is a resolution to add Independence Road Realignment Project, CRP.
Yeah, you may recall this item was on your agenda of last week, and there's a two-step process for this particular project. The Independence Road, it is somewhat of an emergency that needs to be worked on. Right now it's operated on the one-lane type of traffic control. And there's two steps that needs to be taken. In order for the department to work, it needs to be included on the annual program. And this is the request from the department for you to approve that. And also they need budget authority, which is included on the first quarter budget amendment. You had some questions last week, and that's what we left it for today's agenda. And Jennifer is here to answer any questions. And I believe some of the questions was this project included on the CIP? I believe that question has been answered. It's included in the CIP. And also you had some questions in terms of the cost as to how much this
Last time you did.
replacement will cost.
Yeah. Still got those questions?
I guess we won't know the cost.
But Jennifer's here if you have any questions.
Missed the question, sorry.
We're on 3D. Did you?
Yes, sir, I just missed the question.
Oh, yeah.
The cost.
The cost of the CRP.
The construction itself is $350,000. Total cost is about $500,000 for the project. And that's, we have some property to acquire as well. About 15 feet over the river.
Got it. You're on TV.
Oh, that's what it is. I forgot. You're right. We're streaming. Yeah.
I'm starting to get used to that now. Any other questions?
500,000.
Yeah. I mean,
Where's the money come from?
can this be done with a simple riprap addition? I mean, is to save the roadway, or is it another bureaucratic nightmare you have to go through to put riprap in to save the road? You have to go to the fish and wildlife folks and save a frog while you're doing it? Or?
Well, that's part of the project delivery. I wish that I can tell you there will be an easy solution to just throw rocks on the slope to solve the problem, but unfortunately that's not how we can do it.
Okay,
Believe
I'm
me,
good.
if we would have the avenue to do that, I will be the first in line to support that effort.
You throw rocks.
Yeah.
Riprap riprap is such a simple solution, but it kills a few frogs.
But it well may be, that might be the solution, but unfortunately it's close to a very sensitive area. They will need to just obey by the current state law that put us in that position. Like to add anything else on that?
That's correct. There's a process that we do have to follow.
Creates a lot of extra expense for the taxpayers.
Goes
Okay.
back to those unfunded mandates
Yep,
that
okay.
has been in place for many years.
How's it unfunded mandate?
Because there is requirements that we need to go and secure permits, and we need to go through the process to make sure that we do the due diligence to minimize the impact on, and all that requires a review, and all that requires reports and approval by agencies.
A lot of agencies justify their existence through a bureaucratic
I would
process.
agree with that statement.
It's too bad.
Would you like to take them on?
No, I don't think we have time to do it, nor the ability to do
That's
it.
the reason why, yeah, that's my point. You don't have the time. All right, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Are you okay with this item?
I am. I'm not okay
I
with
mean,
the process,
no.
but I realize we need to go ahead with
I
it.
guess I should have rephrased, would you like any additional information
No,
before we move forward? Okay.
thank you.
All right, we're moving into number 5, which is essential services, a contract award for scheduling and time management system from the Thurston County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, this is the last step in the process. You may recall the Sheriff's Office had been in the process to securing a new time tracking application. So for the last 2-3 months, they went a couple of requests for proposals until they found this particular outfit. Everything has met the conditions of the request for proposals, and right now Martin Case is asking the commissioners to give him the authorization to go ahead and sign the contract for $64,470 plus applicable sales tax.
Are you good with that?
I'm good.
All right.
I just briefly read the contract. It's a software gig. Okay.
And I think if you may recall, there was a little bit of conditions on the RFP where this particular application needed to talk with other law enforcement agencies, and this particular outfit does that.
Let me back up. What was the coordination or contact needed with the other agencies? I thought this was just internal for scheduling and such, but does it interact then with 911?
So what I understand, how I understand this, is there is some data they share in terms of how much time some of the road deputies spend.
They share
Yeah, they share the data.
with who? With whom?
With other local agencies, other law enforcement agencies.
Okay.
And some of the applications they provided a proposal in order to do extra couple of steps until they can get to that point. And that was one of the requirements the Sheriff's Office had.
So remember, do the other agencies have in time?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 5. No, that was 5A. So 6, which is Public Health and Social Services, DSHH Division, Behavioral Health and Recovery Community Prevention Wellness Initiative Agreement. So this is Chris who's going to...
Yeah, and this is an agreement that the department is asking you to consider approving. And this is for the cost of $248,441 with the Washington State Department of Social Health Services, the Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery Prevention Services. And this agreement goes from March 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. The intent of this program is to support resources for youth substance use prevention. I think it's a little bit of the contractor who provided this particular services, I believe, departed. And right now the department is taking the responsibility to the fiscal agent and provide the services to Bucota and Tenino. And
With one correction that
Can you come out?
has withdrawn.
oh, Bucota has
So
withdrawn.
if they're exploring that,
So do we need to change the motion then?
Yes.
Okay, so let's work on that. How we can change the motion?
So I got questions. Can you come up? I got questions.
Sure.
Is this the one where Together bailed out and left it for anybody to take hold of, or is this a different one?
Together did not bail out, but they decided not to renew
Oh,
the contract.
my bad. That's not probably the right word. So what is this one then, as far as, what are we trying to do with it in terms of?
So this project supports the local coalitions that work on substance abuse for youth in communities that are high risk for substance use. And it pays for a part-time staff person that will be employed by us to work within the school itself and provide resources to the coalition and to the school staff and students, as well as to support the initiatives that the local community coalition has identified as priorities in their strategic plan. And so it is to serve 2 communities, and we will use existing staff to fill the one position that will operate out of Tenino, and the other one is TBD. So we will have to come back.
TBD.
To be determined.
Oh,
We don't
okay.
know yet, because we have to find someone that is closely connected to that community, because that's the best practice.
Is there any ability to utilize this funding to hire a deputy sheriff that would possibly deal with security issues at the same time dealing with potential drug abuse issues?
No, this program is federal funding passed through the state for a very specific purpose that is around the education and prevention component for youth. It does not include any kind of law enforcement. We have to staff it as required in the contract.
If that person had a degree, a special degree, is that what it takes? Or I'm just thinking about using a position to give us a dual benefit.
I think that would be a wonderful idea, but unfortunately this funding is pretty restrictive and narrow upon what is possible. And the coalition itself establishes a strategic plan each year that fits with their local community, and so there's various strategies in there, and so there's other pass-through contract funding to various agencies that carry out different aspects of the plan, and I know that there is law enforcement that are involved in the coalition itself,
Right.
but I don't believe any of the activities are specific to law enforcement. And the coalition has to set those priorities.
Okay, I guess I would ask that you at least take a look at it and see if there can't be a partial fit there somehow, so we can offset some of the expense to law enforcement, because we try to have officers in all the schools. And if there was any way that we could negate that expenditure by having them fill a particular slot, maybe just a portion of the activity could be, I don't know if it means coaching basketball during the lunch break. I don't know what it could mean. I'm just looking to be innovative and try and get a dual benefit on any of these type of issues where we already have law enforcement in the schools.
Our contract doesn't specifically, the contract we're proposing today for approval does not specifically include that, but I'm happy to carry that and have our staff talk
Okay,
to the
that's-
coalition about what kind of partnerships we might be able to further develop to integrate, so we have a
Okay,
stronger
that-
prevention and intervention services. for
That's-
youth in those areas.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
There's a question, then I have a question.
So this was the position that the Bucota Tenino Healthy Action Team was fulfilling?
Yes.
And they're not now?
The coalition, okay, so the Rainier School, the Rainiers, make sure I get those
Good.
confused.
We're ready, please.
Confused. decided, the schools are required to provide a match for this, and they weren't able to meet that match, and decided that they just could not participate in this particular program with DBHR anymore, so they withdrew. The coalition is still in existence, it's just unfunded. The other coalition is funded through this grant, and a young coalition will be established and be funded by this grant.
So Rainier back out, they couldn't match.
Yes, that's correct.
But you go to Tenino, can match. Yeah.
I fear that I am not having the specific community correct, so I will have to get back to you
Okay.
on the specific community that's no longer participating.
I just want to be sure that we're not, duplicating what Together is doing. If they can't fund it, then that makes sense, why we would be asked to do that. And you said to supply resources, would that be just counseling and prevention education, or is it mental health as well, or transportation, or food, or anything else?
So a couple different questions. One in regards to Together. Together approached us and asked us if we would be willing to do it because they didn't want to not renew their contract and leave the community so that they didn't have an option.
Oh, okay.
And Together was funding us for nurse family partnership services that we were providing out in Rainier.
Yeah, 40-something thousand.
Yes, and we were participating in other ways as a partner. They will continue to be a partner in this work, just
okay.
not as the fiscal agent lead. So there's no duplication of effort. It's very much an integrated partnership of everybody that's working to address this issue in those communities, and it aligns with also.
We got more now. Go ahead.
Okay. It also aligns with our tobacco and marijuana prevention grants that we have from other sources that we're working with in those schools. So that's one part of, I think, your question about Together. Your other part is what will the staff person that's within this school do, and kind of what the scope of that work in the school services is. So as the coalition staff person and lead, she will be supporting implementation of those efforts within that community based out of the school to provide that relationship with the school staff and the coalition activities and the youth. So for the staff person that's been identified is Kateri Winzit, who is a letter from our department, who has a lot of community coalition experience and working with this population in particular. So she's really excited and well suited for that role.
So it seems that since Together is asking us to fulfill that role, and it says here in the action, and another Thurston County community to be named. Are they? We're not looking to hire another FTE. We're just reassigning someone work, and then if they're going to be an additional community yet to be named, is this opening the door? We're going to see a domino effect, and we're going to take over, or not take over in a negative way, but assisting Together and taking over the duties of
Is this going to set a
different
precedent?
staff in different schools where they back out and now the county's picking it up?
Well, the county wouldn't have to pick that up. That's a separate relationship with DBHR. So for our contract that we just have is with DBHR that covers our role in that. I'm sorry, your question.
Yeah.
Your question was.
Is this just the beginning of more
Precedents kind of thing.
staffing, reliance on Thurston County staffing to take over roles that a nonprofit has had traditionally in the past?
I don't believe so. Throughout the state of Washington, this federal grant is in existence in every county in the state, and it is often run best by public health, is what we heard from DBHR. And there's a mix of nonprofit fiscal agents and local health jurisdictions that are leading this effort. It's very, I will say, the administrative burden is very high with this particular federal funding source, and local nonprofits have difficulties sometimes in being able to meet those administrative standards that are much easier for us to meet because we already do that. So that's one reason why they were looking for a public health and government partner to do this, because there was no other nonprofit in our community that wanted to take this on.
Except two more and I'm done.
All right, Gary's got one, I got one too. So.
So this is
And-
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and yes, the general plan, that is to be determined as far as staffing, and that likely will require us to have to hire somebody. But we're, at this point,
There you go.
we're using
Okay.
existing staff to fulfill the coalition that's currently operating.
All right. And finally, and this is just self-serving, but typically a sentence is like nine words long, it's right in there. And this from move to approve to agreement by more than 25% is 95 words with no period. Is it, well, somehow we can work on that, you reckon?
I think we're going to revise the
I will
motion
work on
today.
revising it.
You want a
Now
period?
take a deep breath.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm done.
Scorpion. He has a question. I have three of them for you. So.
Okay, I guess what you've mentioned is my concern. That is that Rainier School District did not have enough money. They had to make a decision, either or. So they've chose to put some money into funding a deputy sheriff's position in their school. Sheriff Snaza has tried to make that work for security reasons in the school, but here now the school doesn't have quite enough money to meet the requirements of the match. What I'm asking is some of the work that deputy sheriff might be doing, is there some verbiage adjustment possible in that process that would allow that expenditure of funds so that they could get a deputy sheriff in their school? Is it possible, through a little wordsmithing, possibly that could also be portions of the match so that then they could continue to participate in the reduction of potential drug use in their community? That's kind of where I'm going. When an entity doesn't have enough money in one area, they make a priority decision. But could we maybe take a look and see if it isn't possible that we could get a dual benefit oftentimes? And so they aren't left out because they don't have quite enough money to participate in the additional project, which sometimes could be recognized as their match requirement. That's kind of where I'm going with this, trying to see. I know we have other issues, Rochester, other schools faced with the same type of activity. It isn't just unique to these particular named entities. So I'm hoping that we can come up with innovative ways to try and solve two problems in our community. That's all I'm asking.
Is that a request or just a comment?
Well, just so that
So
the
she know what to
director,
do.
can know to be taking a look at is there a dual benefit here that we can participate in?
Are you asking her to do something, or you just want
Yeah, well, I guess she's probably not going to be able to fix this particular
Right.
issue this
Okay,
time,
just a comment.
but maybe in the future, or if you think you can look at it and see, well, gee, this would work. That's all I'm asking, is that you take a look at it.
I know that was one of the issues, one of the reasons why Rainier chose not to continue to participate, but I believe there was other issues that I'm just not equipped to speak to that led to their decision to not participate. And it was under the sole discretion of DBHR to select the communities, and we did not have any say in it.
DBHR?
The Division of Behavioral Health and
Okay.
Services
State.
through the
Yeah.
state of Washington. And they do that through a specific methodology that looks at risk data for youth. And so they kind of go in order of ranking of the highest risk communities. And so when Rainier chose not to continue their part of their contracting with DBHR, then that led to the selection of the next highest risk community, which is Yelm. So we
Okay.
didn't really have the chance we certainly work closely with the Rainier community around this issue and other issues, but we didn't have the opportunity to be involved in that level of discussions. DBHR basically said, here, this is the scope of work that is allowable by this grant, and we had to make a decision and consider whether that was worth our time. But what I will say is, this is a tremendous opportunity for us to do prevention work in youth in rural Thurston County. And this is a pretty significant amount of money and resources that's going toward this effort. I think it really is going to give us the chance to significantly impact those communities, and it's going to strengthen our work that we're doing in our other areas and our other initiatives. So I'm really happy whenever we have any prevention opportunities that we can pursue.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, now I have 4.
I get 2 and you're done.
Sorry. My first one is, was there a legal review done?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Is there any risk to this happening, showstoppers, anything that would stop it anywhere, anything that you can see? I'm sure you can't see it now, but is there any risk that this won't happen?
Any risk that this contract won't happen
Correct.
once it's executed?
Yeah. In other words, are we going to be able to be successful all the way through June 30th, 2019?
I don't anticipate any challenges in meeting this.
I just see if there was any analysis, because just the way that's all patchwork together over time that I've known for the last 2 years of how this is not happening for all the good reasons, but together and all that. I just want to make sure, ask that question and see where we're at. If it doesn't, then we can come back and fix it. I got all that. I just want to see what was done as far as analysis. Here's the reason why I'm going, because March 1st, 2018 is the start date, and then here we are today, April 10th. And that has to be asking that question. Are we behind the time or something? Or we're just trying to...
No, we're not behind on the time. This was a pretty significant contract. It took quite a while in legal review and going back and forth to negotiate with the state, so we did have the optimal terms agreed upon. The contract was together ended then, so that's they agreed to backdate to the start date so that other entities would not have a gap in service, and so that
I see.
families and youth being served by this grant would not have a gap in services. So that will allow us to continue to do that and attend the coalition meetings.
Okay, it was just curiosity. Okay. So then, out of all this, can we get an update, say 6 months from now, wherever this is, as far as progress report? I mean, pretty simple, easy.
Absolutely. To your question about risk earlier and the challenges that we previously experienced, I was going to say for us, the biggest decision-making point was around the allowable administrative
Yeah, that's
rate,
what I was thinking of more.
because I mentioned the high burden of this particular program when it comes to reporting and the stringent requirements around it. And that's why actually a lot of other agencies can't do it. We've determined that we can allocate, we've worked with them to specifically address that. We can allocate costs directly, so that will reduce our administrative burden, and we determined that we can do that with no additional funding. So there's no other funding sources that we need to execute this grant. This grant will fully cover the staffing and the terms of the contract.
Sure. My curiosity wasn't directed at the persons or the coalition as a whole. It's just the other things that kind of, I'll say, get in the way, and we just administratively and what have you. So I'm just curious.
Well, you answered the one question I had about the start date being March 1st, and that makes sense. The other is, this is for prevention and education, which is exceedingly important, and we've already made that clear where we want to go with that.
Oh, yeah.
And though it's a grant, can it be supplanted, or in the future, can we apply TST dollars to this, even though it's a county employee in a county function? Can the county apply, or someone apply for TST money? Because not only is it we want to move towards prevention, but with high school kids or middle school kids, there's going to be intervention as well, not just prevention. but there's also going to be intervention.
I would say that within the community coalition work is really great work because it involves stakeholders and parents to be involved in the whole community to help develop this plan. And we get really good information out of it about what the needs are of the community. And so this is another way in which I think we can look and help to identify areas of strength and areas where we can better support the youth in these communities. Some of the programs that are already funded using this funding source may also have other sources of funding, such as treatment sales tax or other types of grants that support that work together and kind of create that continuum of services for the youth and students in that community.
So is that a yes or a no?
That's a...
It's a qualified...
Sure. I would say, well, I can just give you an example.
Thanks.
So within the current contract, there's some nurse-family partnership families that are served under this contract. As you know, there's also, not for those same families, the nurse-family partnership also receives some funding from treatment sales tax, as do other programs that are part of this coalition, this community coalition work. So I'm saying that we wouldn't be adding or requesting additional funds to support this particular project, but there may be other activities that that may come up that could meet eligibility requirements.
Because Together was providing this, and was that funding coming from the grant, or was it coming from TST, or was it coming from CIP, or where was it coming from? Do you know where their funding was coming from for this?
It was coming from this grant.
From this grant?
Yes.
I remember, yeah.
All right, thank you.
The terms and services in this grant are fairly specific, so long as it meets what the community identifies as the need. So this is really kind of a grassroots effort, but it also looks at data and risk of the community. So it's a very long-standing program. This has been happening for a very long time. Funding is fairly secure and tends to be ongoing, given that it remains a federal priority.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I guess I'd just comment that I'm appreciate Commissioner Hutchings bringing up the TST, because we are looking at alternative funding sources for a lot of different things. I don't know, and if we had the right intervention process in place, maybe that deputy sheriff's wage could be paid out of TST that goes into some of those schools where they function under the auspices of intervention, if you will. So,
And for those watching, TST is treatment sales tax.
yes. Very good. That's it. Thank you.
Did not know we were going to get all these kind of questions, but it's exciting, good stuff. I'm glad, for me, because I know it's almost 3 years of watching this happen, come undone and go back together, and I'm really excited to see it go forward. And so, yeah, just come back with an update, and we'll be super cool. We'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you so
Give them a
much.
shot at raising kids.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Helping them
yeah.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. All right, we're going to move on to number 7, Commissioner's items, County Manager's items.
Yeah, this is the
Public
item
hearing.
7 is just to set a public hearing for the first quarter budget amendment, and you review the details of the first quarter budget amendment last Friday, and also we have on your agenda today to at least to start making some initial decisions on what you'd like to include on the first quarter budget amendment. And this is just to set the public hearing.
Oh, good. Okay, because there are questions I have on that. Okay. Just to set the public hearing is good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, for me it is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Okay, moving on. Okay, it is 9:45. Okay, so we do have a public hearing today?
Yeah, you have a public hearing that's related to the change in the prison
Oh, yeah,
boundaries.
yeah, yeah.
This is, Mary Hall will be here to give a little bit of a background on this effort. And for your consideration, you have 2 action items. One is to close the public hearing, and the second is to approve the resolution depending on the public testimony that you may receive. And again, you're not bound to take the second action.
Is there a time issue associated with this that makes it somewhat crucial that we take some action sooner than later?
Well, I think it's timely, but if you would like to hold off making an action for next week, that will be acceptable.
There's two, Romero, after move to close, there's two motions that are put forth. Correct?
Yeah,
The second one, move to adopt the proposed legal
Yeah.
description.
is one is making the boundaries adjustment. The other one is to approve the legal description associated with the boundary adjustment. Would you like me to separate the three different
No,
options?
that's fine. I'm not going to count the words.
The periods.
Maybe what we could do is probably just, instead to move to, is and adopt.
And adopt, or, yeah, just separated by paragraph.
Yeah. We'll do that.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. It is 9:47. Either we take a break now and go through 17, or we can do the Board of Health. Any takings, or I'd rather go through the Board of Health. At least you get the 10th of April out of the way for today. So,
I'm good.
I dare you.
okay, let's go with the Board of Health. Do the Board of Health. You take care of 10th April, and then we'll come back to 17 April. Yep. Good to see you again. All right, so call the meeting to order at 3:30 and move to approve the agenda, and then we're going to move to approve the meeting minutes for 13 March 2018 and accept the work session summaries for March 6th and March 13th, 2018. Any issues with that? Any comments? Okay, I can't see it because of the glare. So we have proclamations. We have several proclamations, and the first proclamation is the Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. And I think Shelley Willis is actually going to come to receive that and talk to it, but you're going to do the introduction. Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe Trish Gregory is as well.
I'm sorry.
Trish Gregory.
Oh, Trish coming? Yep. I see that too, yep. Family Support Center. Anything you want to make a comment about as far as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month as a whole?
No, I can say a few words to cue up the proclamation, and then the speakers, that's how you prefer to do it, or if you prefer to do it.
No, you can cue it up and then do the standard, read it, he read it, and whatever. But I didn't know if there's anything data-wise about child abuse prevention awareness that you wanted to talk about.
I'll
Here,
just-
right here.
Oh, right here, right now?
Mhm. Okay, we'll move on.
Nothing
Oh, hang on.
specific unless you have a question.
They might have, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Is that the pin, that's the little pinwheel?
Yes,
Yes.
This one?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Good, I got mine put on, thank you.
Ready to go.
We want to be pinwheeled perfect today,
Yep.
so, okay.
And teal is for
Oh.
both child abuse and neglect and sexual self-awareness month.
Okay, let's see that. Teal's on. Okay, so move on to Sexual Assault Awareness Month if there's nothing else. And, oh, Sarah's coming. And, I saw her the other day from Safe Place, and Tina Olson and Joyce Gilbert. Right?
Yes,
Good.
that's correct. I'll share a little bit of information about what they do and how it relates to this issue. And I did revise that proclamation and send it to Erin
Berkeley.
late last night.
Okay.
So I don't know if she got it to you.
Yeah, she's working on it.
Okay.
Just going back to the first one and the second one, most likely the third one, all three of them will have photos. So,
Okay.
for PIO purposes and stuff. And so, any questions on the Sexual Assault Awareness Month? No? Alrighty. Then the proclamation for Public Health Month, is that, oh, Mr. David Schaffer's coming. And so, that's good. Any comments on Public Health Month?
David will be accepting a proclamation on behalf of Thurston Thrives. Also, for any employees that we have in public health, I would like to invite them to be recognized for their work as well. Just as kind of a,
Recognition point.
yes.
Yep, I agree. I agree. All right, I say that because it's three there, but all the choreography and the however, it takes a few minutes to get through all 5 of them, or all 3 of them. Just be patient. Okay, so opportunity, moving to the opportunity for the public to address the board. Do you know of anybody that want to talk about anything?
No, I don't.
Curiosity? No, everything's good out there.
I don't know about that.
That's not a barometer that you Yeah. Okay, that was a little humor. Department items, Washington State Prescription Monitoring Program. Mr. Chris Bungard's coming back.
Yes,
Is he going to give a slideshow?
yes.
The same one?
He has modified it slightly and reduced it for brevity.
Yeah. Do you remember the slideshow, Gary?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Any particular thing we need to highlight while he's here or whatever? Is anything for PMP purposes?
I don't believe so, but Dr. Wood's still around, and I don't know. Dr. Wood, do you have anything that you
Yeah, sure.
would like to chime in on at this point?
No, I'm glad he's coming back.
I'm sure we'll have a few questions when he gets started. So. All right, I'm going to move on to number 5, which is the role of the WSDA and the State Veterinarian and Food Safety. Okay. And Brian Joseph is coming, right?
Yes, sir.
He came and gave a presentation to the Rotary.
Yeah, did you like it?
I like his presentation. I wasn't too keen on his introduction.
Oh,
But, yeah.
I don't remember his introduction. Remember the introduction?
I don't remember the intro, no.
Yeah.
This is the one we wanted, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll roll with punches. So who's going to do the introduction of him, I guess? And I'll do it if nothing else. That's not a problem. Okay. So number 6, food safety presentation, a tale of 3 closures, Sammy Berg. And he has a...
Those slides have been modified
Oh, my God.
Since we met last week. So it's reduced a little bit, and then there's the restaurants are anonymous that he's discussing.
Okay. Have you seen the photos?
I'm just looking at it.
That is not.
It's public
Thurston
information
County
anyway, isn't it?
establishment.
That's what?
That is not a Thurston County establishment.
Oh, it's not,
Oh,
oh,
thank
yeah,
you.
I'll have to,
It says it on the bottom.
For example, only.
good grief. Holy.
You see it?
No, I didn't see it. Oh, yeah. Too bad we can't show that to the public
But you know
somehow.
what? I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but this harkens back to the day when we would have a burglar alarm in the middle of the night at some restaurant. We would have to go in and search the building, and we'd walk into the kitchen, and that was not
Uncommon.
uncommon, and it would just make your skin crawl. Not all of them, some.
Illustrates why it is very important.
What's that?
It's critically
To
important
protect
for
public
health.
health. That's right.
Very important to keep us safe.
Core mission.
Good grief. Oh, it's just one picture. Aw.
Oh, I like pictures.
I like pictures.
I like pictures.
I don't have a picture
Maps
in
and
this, in
pictures.
here, do I? Printed? No.
What's the intent of this,
Sandy Berg brief?
Sandy?
The intent is just to provide information only about the process.
The process,
Kind of
yeah.
Some examples of.
The inspections?
Yeah, to better inform the public as well as the board about that.
Good.
All right, anything else? on
It's a
that?
tale of 3 closures, but is it a tale of 3 openings, reopenings?
Yeah. Okay.
Or shutdowns? Or,
2 out of 3, I believe.
ooh.
Is that correct? Art?
Actually, all 3 reopened.
All 3, okay.
The idea is to kind of talk about that process.
And the health department's on it like a rat on a Cheeto, so to speak.
On it.
We're on it.
I think so.
Okay,
Prefer
thanks.
to not have rats.
Thank you.
Fresh Cheetos, too. I don't want to. Oh, yeah. We're going to move on to number 7. Aquatic nuisance weed control prescription for Lawrence Lake. Patrick going to be here?
Yes, Patrick will be here.
And Timothy from Public Works?
Yes, I believe.
Tim should be here. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's not going to miss it. Oh, my God. All right, any questions about the department items or whatever before we move on? So we're going to skip number 8, go to number 9, director's report. You'll be able to give some notes or talking points from your perspective, and then Dr. Wood, huh? All right, and that's it. So it's pretty cool. Is there anything?
Are you going to skip number 8 altogether?
Probably on this one because there's a lot going on. I keep it in. I know it's optional, just in case we ever have a short version and feel like saying something. Just for the most part, I need to say something.
Okay.
No, number 8. Where she said.
Did you skip number 10, though?
What is number 10?
Where's number 10?
Health officer.
Dr. Wood.
Health officer report, did you?
No, I said that.
Oh, did you say it here? I'm sorry. Is there exciting stuff to talk about? Epidemic?
Tuberculosis, emergency preparedness,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Good?
I'm good.
Good. Everybody good? All right. Thank you so much. We're going to take a break now. This is 9:57, but consider it 10 o'clock. Come back at 10 after 10 for 17 April.
Not yet.
Want to go to the restroom?
Tell us how to write down Mike. Oh, no. Excuse the silence.
You did a good job this morning.
Thanks.
You did. I mean, I wish we didn't have, I don't know. Well, I hate putting you on the spot, about stuff, but
I don't mind.
I mean, this whole thing about Rainier not going forward because they have a lack of funding and possibly, I mean, we've got money in that TST fund that possibly we could use to help out on these kind of things. And I know there's this debate about whether it's intervention or prevention, But you did a good job fielding those.
Commissioner Blake, we just received a signed copy from Dr. Wood on the notifiable conditions, and her denial not to declare that. And I was asking whether that would be too premature, this option, for her to just read that letter.
No, it's a question to you. Do you think it's too early to talk about it even more in a formal sense, or have another discussion today, or stall it for another discussion? You can think about it.
I think that would be.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's just saying we got a hot mic, but that's okay. We're not talking about anything, but we're great.
You need to mute it.
Well, why? What do we, I mean, is it, we're not talking about secret stuff.
I would say that.
17th. We'll have a Board of County Commissioners April 17th, 2018, start at 2 o'clock. Presentation, we have, agenda that Commissioner Everett did the agenda, and then committee pledge allegiance, and we did the agenda and the board meeting minutes. Then we have a presentation with the state at the library.
Yeah, we got a couple of
Yeah.
Sorry. So we have a couple presentations for you. One is by Cheryl Haywood. She is the library director for the Timberline Regional Library. And that's a yearly presentation, give you the state of the library system itself. So it's always entertaining to see what she has to say. And also Mary Ann Clear is going to be coming here and introduce Louise Adams as the new pretrial services officer. And as far as I know, the whole pretrial services is fully staffed.
She's formerly sheriff's office.
Yep. I think she was a detective in the sheriff's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, that was your last assignment. Yes.
Very nice lady. Very smart.
Good job.
Okay, we'll move into the opportunity for the public to address the board, which I suspect you know very much. Okay, we'll move into county manager's update.
If we hear any testimony today, I will follow up next week.
Why do we have consent items on consent items and the auditor financial services and consent items? And it's
Just your weekly approval of the voucher list? Yeah,
so just one?
so far.
Here we are with Public Works, department items, Public Works contract for our fish passage enhancement.
Yeah.
Steel bridge fabrication project, CRB, 62,000.
Yeah, this is the next step in the process. 3 weeks ago, you approved the department to go ahead and secure bids for the prefabrication of 3 bridges related to the fish passage. And this is, they received only one bid from Big R Bridge of Greeley, Colorado. And that was a responsive low bid for $337,598.60. And the department is requesting for you to give authorization to the Director of Public Works to sign that contract, plus an additional 20% for any contingencies during construction, for a total amount of $405,118.32 for three bridges. And this is, as you may recall, this is going to be funded by the Real Estate Excise Tax 2, REIT 2.
Yeah, we won't fish passage, doesn't it? Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Moving on to number 4B, which is resolution being called for some more sealed bids at Athens Beach Road Northwest.
Yeah, this is a project that when I was in the public works capacity has been somewhat of a difficult project to deal with. And this is a pipe that runs from Athens Beach all the way to the Sound. And it just happened this pipe is an old pipe, is a very old pipe. It was discovered after a garage was built on top of it. So we have seen the deterioration of the pipe, and needs to be replaced. We own the pipe, and this particular bidding process is to do what we call trenchless technology. So what that is, you just infuse material inside the pipe and reinforce internally, so the pipe doesn't collapse in the long term. And the Public Works Director is here to give you additional information.
I do want to clarify, the pipe itself isn't in too bad of condition. It's the joints that
Okay.
are actually leaking. So.
Is this over by Long Lake?
No.
We had a discussion, I thought, sometime earlier about a situation.
A different one.
That is different?
This is a different.
And you cautioned about that you own it?
Yeah, in this case, we touched it and we own it.
And there's,
In the other case, we haven't touched it, so we don't own it. And as you may recall, I think is a combination between the two lakes, Long Lake and Lake Sinclair. No, it's not Lake Sinclair. With the City of Lacey. And at that point, the City of Lacey is the one who has been maintaining this pipe. The county has not been maintaining that pipe.
You're talking about the other.
The other, not this one.
This one is not due for, after we invest in this, it's not due for annexation.
No.
All right.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
You, Colleen? So that question puts us at resolution for submit after we got that. Okay, resolution to allow. Okay, we got to change the title. I read it. It's not going to work. But I'll read it for right now. Resolution to allow a county-owned trail currently referred to as McLean Trail be renamed Route Monroe Trail. No issues. Just renaming of the trail.
Okay,
You know,
we'll change the title. Yeah.
however you want to word it.
Yep, we'll revise the description. You may recall late last year you got a request to rename the county-owned portion of the McLean Trail located on the west side to be named as the Ralph Monroe Trail. Mr. Ralph Monroe, as you know, has been very active on the trail development. And your decision at that point was to support this request. This just makes it official. And there's a ceremony planned for June 6th, dedication with the new name of this particular portion of the trail. And this is already included in the master calendar, and you're more than welcome to attend that ceremony.
So we're potentially going to name a trail after Ralph Monroe. Will he be here in attendance?
This afternoon? No.
On the 17th?
On June 6th? Yes, he will.
Whatever this is. No, this agenda.
I think the actual dedication is on June 6th, but maybe we can look to see if he's available to come next Tuesday, if that's your pleasure.
That was my question.
And more importantly, senior personnel.
Yep.
Dave said, yeah, he really started.
Okay, so we'll organize somebody to
Thank
come.
you.
Yep.
Guess at least Dave to show, to explain why.
Yeah. The background, Ralph's been
Yeah.
around 1,000 years or something like that.
Right.
Okay.
Here we go, item number 5, Public Health and Social Services. Approval for local solid waste financial assistance agreement with the Department of Ecology.
This is a grant from the Department of Ecology to do some program permitting, inspection, and enforcement. This particular grant is $126,119 from the state grant and $42,000 for local match, which is coming from the tip and fees. This agreement goes from July 1st, 2017 to June 30, 2018. And you may ask as to why we're going back on July 1st, 2017, is this particular grant allows to recover those costs back to July 1st, 2017. And Art Story is here to answer any questions if you have some
So this is money
coming in. But there is a match required of $42,000.
Do you have a question? We're good. Good. Thank you. Sorry. If it was the Dakota Tenino one, we'd be here a lot better.
Yeah.
This will help folks in Dakota tonight.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
This one had the puzzle pieces put together, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the number 6, County Commissioners and County Manager's items. We have approval treatment sales tax interlocal agreement with the Mason Behavioral Organization.
Yeah, this is an agreement to fund some specific programs with TST at a cost of $1,727,180. And this agreement goes from January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. That's per year.
He obviously found something.
Well, no, I'm just wondering, that's quite a hit on the fund. What's it take the fund to? I'm just wondering, is that already
This is
budgeted?
part of the
Yeah,
budget.
it's already included in the budget.
There's no hit.
Okay,
It's a hit, it's a legal hit.
okay.
So this is no new appropriation. This is just confirming what you have. It's been appropriated on the budget.
Okay.
It can't be used, for a deputy.
All right. There's nothing else for the agenda. Think anything else we added on before then? Like one more consent item?
Sure, we have.
Can I ask a question of the Public Works Director about a prior topic already here on this bridge thing? If you have time, just ask.
What is the title?
The title
That's a good
is,
question. Yeah, so there might be.
for the,
Oh, yeah.
we only got one bid, and I'm wondering how come we only got one bid?
Do you know where is that, Jennifer, in the agenda?
Item 4A. Yeah.
I'm not saying it isn't an appropriate bid, I'm just, does it fall within the guidelines of kind of what we thought it might cost, or?
Yes, it actually came in a little bit less than the engineer's estimate.
Okay, and is there a reason we only got one bid?
The company that did it last time, they built the last Beaver Creek
Okay.
bridge. Possibly because of the turnaround time, but it's hard to say. We could certainly call and ask. There's a few other companies that do this type of work that did not bid. We can certainly call and ask them, but it did come in under the engineer's estimate as well.
I guess I'm just curious, when we're dealing with public dollars, how come? It always makes me nervous when we only get one bid, but if it came in under, I guess, the estimate. How much? I guess that'll suffice. Thank you. I was just a follow-up question on that. Thank you very much.
Curiosity. Thank you. Not bad.
I don't want to take
Don't
too
go
much
TBD.
time on it.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the advisory board.
Can we review the TBD agenda for next week, Commissioner, please? Yeah.
This is for the 17th.
Yeah, for the 17th.
Oh, where is that? There's no document.
No, not.
It's on SharePoint, so.
Oh, it is.
But it has been a while, and so we will
Popping
make
up.
this in advance. Send
Okay.
that agenda to
I'm
you.
going old school.
Thank you.
I am not. I forgot who.
This is all
Sugar-free there.
Okay, so we're going to divert just for a second. Huck has the con. Gary is the vice president, vice president.
No, this afternoon, 2 o'clock.
Says it right at the top. Oh, is it? Did I misread? That's how they're lined up for it, right? Okay, I messed up. So who's the president? You're the president?
Yay.
You're the vice president.
No, Commissioner Hutchins is the president.
I knew it.
Well, good.
I want to say it.
Okay, President.
All right.
Go ahead, Al.
Agenda, April 17th agenda. We'll approve the 17th of April agenda and approve of the minutes from April 18th, 2017.
That is correct.
This is your annual meeting
Wow.
of the TBD.
So that's not a typo.
That is correct.
Almost a year ago.
Wow,
We hope
okay.
to not have them just be annually.
Okay. Do we expect public comment?
Not that I'm aware of.
Probably
I
not.
wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. We've heard this topic come up a couple of times by concerned citizens, so
Okay.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, it depends on what we're going to be talking about. So let's look at 3A. Under Department items, Public Works, ratify the election of the Thurston County Transportation Benefit District officers. You'll be talking about that then? You'll bring it up, you'll be here?
Oh, yes.
And so we need to talk about that now.
Sure.
And so currently it's president, vice president, and stunt double alternate, whatever you are.
Stunt double.
So what is the pleasure of the board?
I may remind you that when you went through the assignments of your board and commissions back in December 2017, you already identified you to continue on as a president, Commissioner Earl was vice president, and Commissioner Blake as
Right,
board
so
member.
we did that in December, so we
This is
haven't
just
ratified that?
Right, no.
Okay, so we'll ratify, that's just a formality that we're doing there. Okay, got it. B, 3B, annual report.
Yes.
You'll have one. Is there
So
one?
this B will be for 2016.
Okay,
So this is for the 2016 Transportation Benefit District Annual Report. And then, yes, reviewing that and accepting it.
and we've already established for this year the newspaper of record for Thurston County.
Yes, so this would be included in the aluminum.
Oh, yeah. Any questions, comments about that? Okay. No, not about the newspaper. We already know about that. 3C, Charlie. Public Works again, Thurston County Department of Administration Annual Report for 2017.
Correct. So moving forward, we will be having those accepted on an annual basis as opposed to having them stacked up. But for this year, you'll have 2016 and 2017.
Okay. And 3 Delta, TBD, Why It Matters. And so you have a presentation.
We do, yes. So this will be, it's been a while since we've met. So we'll talk a little bit about the program and what can be done with it.
How much time do you need for that, Jennifer?
Business maybe,
10 minutes?
not very much, 15.
15? Okay. And then with Q&A.
Yes, I have to.
Okay.
Can I just make a statement, if I may?
Yes, sir.
I know that people have not really addressed the TBD and Transportation Benefit District, but at some point in time, it's going to happen. Pay me now, pay me later. That's how it's been. You look at Lacey, they did it. Olympia, they've done it. Tumwater done it. Tumwater and Olympia have done it just recently. So what am I trying to say here? It needs to be a discussion on how we talk about it now and how we want to move forward with it in the future. Get something out of this. For the revenue source. So it's just a general statement that
Yes, I think in part of our responsibility is to show you the current state of the infrastructure and where things are, where they've been,
Sure.
and where they're going.
very good. Before I go any after.
Gary?
And that could be potential selling points to move forward, or could say, we don't need this.
Oh, yeah, that's both directions.
That's
Your presentation will kind of lay that out about possibly what the benefits could be if there was implementation
Yes,
of this process.
yes.
And also, we briefly discussed our planning session last week as a potential revenue source. They're looking holistically how that could also be part of general fund revenue. So perhaps when next week when you look at this particular option or future conversations, I encourage the board not just to look at this particular action in terms of the potential revenue, but perhaps how the overall options the county has as revenue opportunities.
I guess this may be a prerequisite of what Jennifer will report on when the time comes. Could we possibly hear not only what municipalities have done, but maybe what counties in western Washington have done in regard to this, and how that may have benefited or not their particular operation?
Gonna add that down. Good. Anything else? I have a question. Will you be making a recommendation to the board at that time?
No, we hope to have a follow-up meeting in May.
Okay.
So,
And
because we haven't met in a year, there were some housekeeping that needs to be done. And so in terms of wanting to manage our time effectively, we have a certain piece of information that we'll talk about during this presentation. And then in May, which would be your approval to talk about more
Okay.
specifics.
So the BoCC on the 17th meets at 2 in the afternoon, and then this is 3:30 in the afternoon. This will be televised,
Yeah,
Yeah, we have a contract.
yeah,
and then we go right back into the BoCC if we haven't finished.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments?
No, I'm in favor. Going out there to the road.
And then item number 4 is adjournment. All right. Romero, anything?
Nope,
Further?
I'm good, Commissioner.
All right. Yes.
Have you adjourned yet? Did I make some more comments?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more comment.
I guess I have one more suggestion, possibly, for Jennifer to look at if she's going to make a presentation to us. And that is, we recently have been working with an organization to help us decide on expenditures of revenue in Thurston County, how we should do the budget. So I think there was something in there along the lines of our infrastructure and roads and such. Could you take a look at that and see if that's appropriate? Maybe you could make mention of that finding by that group. I don't know if it'll be official by then or not.
I can work with you on that.
But,
Yeah,
just,
you're talking about the strategic plan.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just, I mean, it kind of ties in here.
Oh, I think it absolutely does.
And I just thought maybe you could bring that forward as part of the discussion.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's all, sir.
As well as in the May meeting, when you come back with some type of recommendations, perhaps some alternatives for funding short of an additional tax. If there is such an animal, an alternative. Commissioner Edwards, anything?
Your presentation, will you be talking about the safety and technology piece of this?
I think it's muted.
I know that there's roads and bridges in Williamsburg.
Yes, it'll be in this one.
That's fine now.
I didn't do it. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Not muted. Commissioner Blake, anything?
Yeah, she got it.
Do you have anything further for the TV?
Oh, no.
TV?
Just see if, touch on technology and safety.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. That takes care of this then.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
TCTBD, to be continued. All right, we're going to go to advisory boards and commissions.
So there's nothing on the agenda today so far. We've gotten an application for both the Agritourism Advisory Committee and the Veterans Advisory Board. So Paul Zwendler for the Agritourism Advisory Committee, and we do have one vacancy on that board, and then Liza Nascito, and we do have also a vacancy on that board as well.
And you also receive a letter from Mr. Robert Hastings. He's from the Board of Equalization. And that letter is included in your packet. So would you like me to read it out loud for the record?
What would you like?
I think so.
I mean, it's fine.
So this letter was addressed to Commissioner Blake as the chair of the board, and that states the current Board of Equalization consists of 3 members, James Harbison, Joan Morrison, and me, Mr. Robert Hastings. And alternate members, Diane Pust, Jeff Pust, and James Carver. All the alternate members are active real estate brokers. Mr. Pust is, in fact, the owner and managing broker of Van Dorn Realty. I cannot help but question how it came to be that any individual involved in making a profit based on the evaluation of property will be considered impartial enough to sit on the Board of Equalization. It has recently come to my attention that Mr. Paz has expressed an interest in replacing Mr. Harbison as a full-time member of the board, as he has submitted his resignation effective the 1st of June of this year. This situation is an obvious appearance of impropriety and conflict of interest that will surely lead to accusations against the Board of Equalization and the Board of County Commissioners from taxpayers. It is my belief that steps should be taken to, quote, drain the swamp and have Mr. Paz and Mr. and Mrs. Paz and Mr. Cribb removed from sitting on the Board of Equalization. I am sincerely grateful for the opportunity to serve the taxpayers of Thurston County. As a member of the Board of Equalization, it has been a great experience, and I look forward to continuing my services. Respectfully, Mr. Robert Hastings.
I had a discussion with Mr. Hastings, a month ago, and it had to do with members of the Board of Equalization and how the Board of Equalization has run in the past as well as currently. And he just pointed out this has nothing to do personally with any of these individuals. It has everything to do with the possible appearance of a conflict. And that conflict was that the board has been and still is consists of members from the real estate business. He wondered if there was a reason that in the past it had been dominated by the real estate industry, and if it was beneficial to continue that domination by the real estate industry. He felt there could be a conflict because it's beneficial to keep the prices up, I guess, if you're working on a commission when you're doing your sales. So that was the issue that I think brought this forward. I had told Mr. Hastings that I just wasn't able to go to fellow county commissioners and discuss this without it being brought to our attention in a public forum. So
it's not an issue. If it's an issue, you can bring it up as a commissioner. But it's okay either way.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think he said, he had asked me, well, what do the other commissioners think? And I had to explain that, well, we don't talk about these items unless we're in a public forum like we are today. And so if he felt strongly about it, maybe he'd write a letter. And I think that's what's come of this. Nothing to do with the individuals. And I guess I would ask maybe that from a historical perspective, that Ruth Elder, who's been the chair of that board for quite some time, maybe could at least let us know how that's happened. Is there any conflict? Has there ever been a review by legal? Is there a perception that having the board dominated by real estate interests, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know the answer to that. So maybe we need to have Ruth come at some point. Let us know that. Okay, that's my input as to how this might have happened.
Anybody else?
I didn't.
Robin?
In response to, I'm sure this is on, in response to how this may have happened, I know that in the past there was a preference for people that had some type of real estate experience or appraisal experience, because this job revolved around the ability to assess the value of real estate. So there was a preference for that reason. It seems like Elizabeth was consulted on that, but I'd have to check to be sure.
So we need to re-examine?
Just for your background.
No, I was just wondering, maybe that suffices instead of having Ruth Elders come you know.
Either way, I mean, if you like, I can organize have Ruth come next Tuesday morning when you review the boards and commissions and give you her perspective for a few minutes. But you still have an outstanding decision to make. It is because there was a still outstanding request from the Board of Equalization. They're suggesting, since Mr. Harvison is retiring June 1st, to put Mr. Pust in his place after he retires. So that request is still outstanding for you to make a decision whether you like to continue or not. But I'm just saying there is a decision point you need to make at some point.
Sure. Go ahead, Rob.
I also find it interesting that the recommendation from the Board of Equalization is signed by all three members, and yet you have another opinion from one of the members.
Alternate members?
Has he had this conversation with the other members of the board?
I don't know the answer to that.
You have a comment?
Yes. Number one, speculation only. Will Mr. Hastings, will he be making any public comment to this effect? At any of our
Well,
meetings?
I don't know. I've not talked to him about
Yeah,
this
you can't.
since this letter. I did say, well, if you have a concern, you could probably pass it on through a letter rather than me trying to bring it individually to the other county commissioners.
And I'm looking at the letter that came from the other board or BOE members recommending Ms. Poos be nominated or appointed to fill that stead. Has she, I haven't read this in detail, has she applied to do that? She wants to do
Yeah,
this?
and his wife to be an alternate.
I think I think that's
It's
what the
husband-
conflict
husband-
was.
husband
There's a
and wife.
husband and
Oh,
wife,
so Mr. wants to be the appointed and the wife.
and
is the
Mrs.
alternate.
would be the alternate. And
Other way
No,
around.
it's
Other way
the
around.
other way around, okay.
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 First, Mel second.
Mrs. Poos would be the new regular member.
Diane first.
And I think that brought about the potential of a conflict, but a continued domination by real estate interests. And would we be criticized for appointing two people from the same family as a member and an alternate?
And, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, that's good.
John Graver is also interested in remaining an alternate. Does that bump Mr. Poos, or do we have several alternates?
John Graver is he's already currently on the board and he's requesting.
He's an alternate on the
He's an
board, I
alternate.
think,
He'd like
right?
to continue
Right.
to be as an
But this-
alternate.
So his remaining is not bumping or preempting Mr.
No,
Poos
we
as
currently
a...
have three alternates.
Okay.
And Mr. Graver is also, my understanding is that he is also a real estate person.
Yes, that's what it says. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So again, it's coming back to this domination theory, and although what Robbins pointed out, having knowledge is worth something for sure, but the prospect of spouses on the board together, everybody on the board dominated by the real estate interest has brought this
So we
in
did
focus.
have the husband-wife issue reviewed by Elizabeth at the time. I believe it was Mrs. Poos who was appointed second. And that was reviewed by Elizabeth, and she said that was okay. So I know that that was reviewed. What I'm not positive about is if she's given an opinion on the real estate, but I do know that that's been talked about at each juncture when someone was appointed to this committee, and it's considered an advantage because of the work that the committee does.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that if a husband and wife were on the board and another person, that's a quorum. if they were going to,
At the house.
at the house. That's a quorum at the house, and I think,
Or at the grocery
I
store, or
think
wherever, yeah.
that is where the issue comes up about the possibility of impropriety. That's
Or at the dinner table.
at the dinner
Anywhere in the
table. So
house.
that's how this all came about. Do we have a perception that there's a problem?
It might be legal, but
It might be legal, but maybe it doesn't look right, to have this situation in place. And that's what he was bringing this issue
Okay.
forward.
I gotta move on.
And I didn't know how to bring it forward. I said, well, why don't you write us a
So
letter?
I will have Ruth and Elizabeth come next Tuesday, and we'll revisit this item with you again, and maybe at that point you can get some
Okay.
answers from
I
them.
mean, it's just kind of showing that we are paying attention to these
All right.
commissions.
What about, advisory boards and commissions?
So the 2 new applications, and then there's also, for the solid waste advisory committee, Josh Cummings' appointment needs to get filled. So I think it's typically done by a committee board.
It had been a commissioner, but the commissioners delegated to a county.
Yeah, that was
And it's not for Josh to be doing now with his new position? Is that what I'm hearing?
maybe too much for him to,
Too much for him to do?
speaking for him.
You are right.
Yeah. Nelson was looking for someone else to be appointed to the schedule.
All righty. Do we have a name in mind? There's
I
a,
don't think so. I'll check with Josh, 'cause I think he said he was gonna help.
okay, let's do that first.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what Josh says about who he thinks maybe ought to fill in his stead.
Okay.
So we currently don't have a sustainability coordinator.
And I'm working with Josh to see whether the current position is still
Oh, somebody must have texted Josh.
viable or
Josh must have heard us talking about him.
Okay, it's not a hard deal. We just need to get a name. Do we have PIOs announcing these?
This one though it's
I
your
know.
committee assignment. It's not one that you use citizenry to fill.
Well, I know that, but any and all of these, other than what you're mentioning.
Right.
And
But-
We have,
Okay.
the law has sent us requests.
Because I see the fair
SWAC
board, I see the
committee
veterans board,
assignment.
agritourism board.
Because I was leaving the commissioner's office, but I'm not now in the commissioner's office.
That was not the only reason, no. I believe it was your role as the sustainability coordinator that landed you in that.
Which we haven't yet done. It's not too much work. I can still attend if you need.
I was just making the argument. To the contrary, I was saving your bacon.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. But if a position is needed, I have let them know that this process is taking place, that we were thinking about filling it, and they're not in a hurry. They appreciate you guys thinking about it. SWAC is aware that we're in transition.
Do you have, I'm not asking for anything now, just other than a yes or no. Do you have someone in mind that might be able to fill that spot you are in?
No, it's a conversation for her and I can have. But it is staffed by Public Works folks. You've got Allison Luthdahl and Monica Gordon that are there also.
I understand that, and I didn't know if you had someone in mind. I don't want any name. I know it's your conversation to have, but
Yeah. There are a few people, but again, there is some positives to having it connected tightly with the commissioner's office.
okay.
The SWAC committee appreciated that level of engagement. They were at first disappointed when it wasn't a commissioner, and then they were pleased that at least there was somebody from the commissioner's office. That was in keeping with what they were looking at.
I guess I'd make a,
Make it quick, because I got a lot to get
okay.
through here.
As long as Josh says he thinks it's possible in his work schedule, I feel very comfortable with Josh representing us. You can't hardly get an employee that's any closer to the commissioner's position than the director, who is also an at-will employee. So I can't imagine that he wouldn't.
Reminder.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, if they're looking for somebody as close as possible to this board,
Okay, I think we talked.
a director in his position, I think, would be as close as you can possibly get.
Yeah. Maybe you can consider that next week as
Yes.
you
This is
I
not
thought
something
this
to
is-
dwell on.
In the meantime, maybe could Josh continue until we do make a
I
decision?
think that's what you're going to do.
Is that what we're going to do?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to try to get us through the rest of this because
It's a lot
it's
of,
crazy to sit there and talk about stuff like this, and it's going to happen anyway. So.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to jump to briefings, public hearing decisions, and all the rest of it. So I'm going to look at Josh. Hang on a second. Shelley, do y'all have anything on here that I need to knock out quick for you while you're, I mean, you sit here all day long with us. It's not a problem. I don't want to know if you're here for a particular reason or a particular
I believe
item.
Shelley and Gary are here for number 1.
CDGB?
Yep.
Let me get CDGB out of the way and then we'll come back here. Okay, let's do that. CDGB.
You had a briefing on March 29, which I was not part of that briefing, but I believe there is a decision pending for you.
Okay.
And this is related to this document. Okay.
Good.
And I believe there is a sense of urgency to send letters to the cities related to the CDBG money. And there's copies of those letters here. There's a couple typos in there that needs to be corrected. And I believe that is the only decision point at this juncture.
CDBG and home.
Okay.
So either one of y'all, 30 seconds of background and bring us forward and we can talk about it.
Every 3 years, HUD requires, Housing and Urban Development Federal, requires that we enter into agreements with our cities and towns to have an urban county CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Consortium, a group of cities and towns. And it's every city and town except Olympia and the county. That's the CDBG side of the agreement. And then the home side of the agreement is again the county representing all cities and towns except Olympia enters into an agreement with the city of Olympia for home, HOME, federal housing money. We need both of these agreements signed every 3 years, and the timeline for these, June 30th is the due date for the home agreements to be with HUD.
June 30th.
Signed off, every community signed off, and I have this in my brain. July 16th is the date for the CDBG agreements. And this is likely going to require an action by each council. So every city council and town for city of Dakota will have to take positive action to sign off on the agreements.
Okay.
So that's the, does that help?
So you're looking for a verbal agreement today so that you can do the rest of the jurisdictions and then come back with a formal written sign with the county?
Yes, I bring you a series of letters. There are actually 21 separate agreements.
Okay.
And I would bring them to you.
That's why we're here in April, waiting all the way to June, July. Okay, that time period in between. Okay. Now you had a question?
You said except Olympia.
Yep.
And why is that,
Olympia
except
is their
Olympia?
own community development block grant.
Is that because the size of their community,
It
or?
has to do with their status with HUD. They are considered an entitlement city. They've received CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, for over 25 years.
Okay.
And isn't there a size qualification?
There is a
They
size
meet-
qualification.
Yes.
It's 50,000.
Their size.
Um,
And they qualified in the past.
Yeah, they qualified 25 years ago as the principal city in Thurston County.
Okay.
The size referenced by Robin is 50,000. Olympia has never been at 50,000, but our next city related to that will be Lacey, who will hit 50,000 pretty soon, probably within the next couple of years.
And then they may go off and be their own at that point in time?
Their own CDBG and type.
In the meantime, they fall under the county's umbrella, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
If we enter into these agreements, none of the cities and towns can go off on their own and try to get separate CDBG money.
This current, this period, this cycle.
The next three-year period. This is
Oh, three
covering
period.
19
Oh.
through 22.
Oh.
And I guess you're advocating that we do this?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was going to ask you Shelley's recommendations.
Okay.
You got any issues? You good? Thumbs up? You good?
Good.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, may I ask a question? So this is for the CDBG letters, is this also to send the home letter to Olympia?
Well, my request was for both parties.
Yeah, I believe you're agreeing on both.
Yeah.
So Gary had suggested a change in the agreement language with Olympia.
For home, we're talking home.
For the home funding.
HOME.
And Elizabeth had recommended that you not make a change at this time. So what is the pleasure of the board regarding that?
Oh, is it a highlighted yellow
Yes,
portion?
that yellow
In the
portion.
back.
Okay, I don't know enough about this.
Why would we want to do that? We've done that in the past.
I believe it doesn't accurately reflect the current structure that you have in place, so I think changes are necessary for it, but that needs to be a conversation that we engage in with the city of Olympia.
What about
my
our
recommendation.
attorney?
That is my understanding was Elizabeth's recommendation as well, that you not send the letter out with amendments until you've had a discussion with Olympia.
So the discussion that we're talking about is the one for May.
Yep, it's coming up.
Wow, okay, wow. That puts it in a time crunch to a degree. So if we wait till May to have that discussion, you don't have enough time to, but you don't have to go to Olympia though, right, to get that?
You do have to go to Olympia for the home agreement, and that's the one that is due to.
Right, but you don't have to go to the other jurisdictions is my point.
No, you-
I'm sorry?
The home is due June 30th. That's the
Oh.
tightest timeline. The CDBG you could approve, which has nothing to do with.
Right. So what's the impact if we wait till the May timeframe to have that discussion with Olympia before we move forward today? Because I'm going back in reverse mode on the decision for a second to see where we're at. If we wait to May to get to a conversational closure, you still have enough time to meet your 30 June timeline.
Is it early in May?
I don't think they have been scheduled yet. I can ask.
Well, now I
Aaron
see an
quick.
urgency to have it there, if nothing else. Even earlier, actually, later April, and I would push to do that now.
It's just the meetings between you and the mayors.
I believe there would still be sufficient time to execute with Olympia, and we could order the CDBG prior to that, to get that ball rolling. So
Yeah.
simultaneously
Yeah.
working.
So, yeah, you're seeing the same thing, splitting them now, unfortunately, going back and rerouting them so that we can get to all the things we need to do, so.
I actually think it's a very good strategy to split them, as Shelley is suggesting, because you may recall from that briefing that the home agreement is between Thurston County and Olympia, because Thurston County is designated as the representative because you have these CDBG agreements with the other cities.
Right.
If you didn't have that, then they would need to represent themselves in the home letter.
Okay.
Was my understanding. And Elizabeth said that was the case.
So we,
Going
We're gonna
forward,
we're gonna revise
securing
it.
the CDBG
We want to revise
first
the vote, consensus. But Hutch just walked out.
So we're shooting to early May to set up the meeting with the mayors.
Right.
and there's no way we can do it quicker than that? We have to wait until the early part of May? I mean, for...
Well, we
won't
had it
help.
scheduled for, I believe, a week ago.
Tomorrow, but that fell through.
Tomorrow, but it just didn't work out.
And
I think
other-
the dynamics in which the meeting was going to set up, I don't think it was going to be conducive to have a good outcome.
Early May still won't hurt. It won't. It doesn't totally help, but it doesn't hurt. So
But the early May one is
for home base
only to meet with Olympia?
No.
No, with the mayors.
Mayor.
All
The mayors in total?
Yeah. And that was a request from a letter that you received over a month ago to meet with the chair of
Yes.
the board.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to revise it. And with the CDBG, go forward with that. That's not an issue. With the home, hold on that until we get the solid date on the mayor's discussion, board, whoever, me or whoever goes. But if it gets too close and I'll say let's just hypothetically say another delay in terms of the appointment, and then let's come back and have a serious, crucial conversation about how to move forward, not missing the timelines and what we need to do with it. So put that on alert, so to speak. All right? You bet.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yep. Good call. All righty. Yeah. Come on.
What? Are you here for?
Just to come up to available lanes and,
Oh,
Bring it all.
Beautiful, right? Which one would you like to do first, buildable lands?
Yeah, whatever's kind of down the order, unless there's an urgency on it, some time-sensitive urgency or something like that.
So Jeremy's got both kind of an update on the buildable lands from our previous discussion, and then the marijuana regulation further down in the commission's check-in.
May I suggest to just talk about the buildable lands? This is related to the briefing that you received last week on April 4th. And this is to receive a grant of about $152,000 from the Department of Commerce. And this will allow us to have an interlocal agreement with the TRPC to start developing the scope of work to secure their grant. That's the decision point for you.
Are you, any questions about a grant coming to you to help out with buildable land from the Department of Commerce?
I'm just wondering if there's any connection with what the Association of Counties is meeting with, I don't know the term.
The Ruckus House Center?
Yes, that's it. Thank you, sir.
So the Commerce study that they're doing on buildable land is related to Ruckus House Center.
Okay.
This grant will fund our work on our next buildable lands report. So they're related but separate.
And this is a requirement that we meet a deadline or something at some point.
No matter what, the county's going to have to produce a buildable lands report for the next comprehensive plan update cycle.
Okay.
This will fund the data gathering and possibly some further studies on our commercial and industrial lands to ensure that we have everything that's appropriate for that update.
And it not, even though it's connected, it does not necessarily talk about growth management and the urban boundary and all that.
This does assess the buildable land available in the urban growth boundary and tells us whether or not, based on past development trends, that we have enough for our future growth and development, for the population estimates that OFM turns out.
Okay.
Yes, so with the buildable lands work group that Commerce has been running, which I've been working on as well to make sure our county's perspective is accounted for on that, not just Central Puget Sound. With that one, they are feeding information to that Ruckus House process, but both of them are running on somewhat separate tracks.
Okay.
And this track is us accepting money to do
the study.
Okay, I got it. That's just clarification. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's all I need. I'm good. No.
I have a question, a general question on buildable lands, okay? So we have an estimate of our buildable lands in the county, and we're basing other policy based on that, the availability of the buildable land. And when another agency, for example, Lot, this Wednesday is going to be discussing whether they're going to approve nearly $250,000 to buy 76 acres out along the Deschutes. That takes that away from our buildable lands inventory.
Yes, that in the next report, that area would be taken out. If it's in the urban growth area now.
It's not?
It's not, so then it's not accounted for in the buildable lands report. That report primarily focuses on the urban growth areas,
the UGA,
and not the rural area.
Okay. And are you aware of the Middle Deschutes River acquisition project? Because it's just phase 1 of it, and I don't know what phase 2 is.
Yeah, well, we can certainly look into that.
Is that from Lot?
It's from Lot, yes.
Is that a mitigation issue? Is that what's going on there?
Well, it's alleged to be mitigation, but it is not a requirement as we are required to mitigate for the pocket gopher. It just mitigates.
Self-mitigating?
It's a self-mitigation, yeah, to ensure there's not going to be the riparian area, there's not going to be septics put on along the Deschutes River and such.
Oh, let's see.
So it's not a requirement, it's just money that Lot is going to allocate to Capital Land Trust, allegedly.
Strategic.
As
to buy this 76 acres to put in trust at the encouragement of a third party.
Now, we have not yet had a report back from Art. Art's been looking into, do we have any proof that we do have damage from septic systems to water quality?
On the Deschutes?
well, the Deschutes is part of that discussion is all. I'm just curious where we're at from the health department. I realize we don't have anybody in the room on that, but the board has asked for that report about showing us if there is some water quality problems directly related to septic tanks.
Yeah, in June, I believe it's coming up.
And going back to Jeremy, I don't believe it's in the UGA. I can't say 100%, but I don't believe it is.
But if it was in the UGA and it was bought for that purpose, in the next report, that land would be taken out, kind of like how LBA Woods came about. That land would be taken out of the next buildable lands report, and we'd have to make sure that the remainder of the urban growth boundary or area has enough area to accommodate our future growth and development. And some of what this money would pay for is checking some of our assumptions on redevelopable parcels to make sure we're doing it right. We'll be working with the master builders and realtors and others on that.
But if it negatively impacted our buildable lands, can we protest that or stop it from happening, or what would be the process?
Well, with buildable land,
it's
a report of what's actually happened and what we think is going to happen, and making sure we have enough land. I don't know about the protest side of it.
Yeah, I got a minute or two. Go ahead.
A consideration when you're doing open space designations and changing zoning designations and urban growth boundaries, that we make sure we have
Another
enough
Mary?
in there. One thing to consider too is that the buildable lands report itself and when we incorporate into the comp plan includes what's called a reasonable market factor, and that's set at 25% for the overall county. That reasonable market factor is intended to account for things like that, reductions, property owners not developing their properties and all that. So it's a fudge factor, for lack of a better word.
But this is data and information.
Yeah.
Right.
If there is a next step that the board would like to take on any purchases from other organizations, that's something we're going to make those steps.
Remember, you had your hand up. You had something to add.
Yeah, you brought that up before.
This is just my perspective that I offer, because this particular effort of purchasing the land along the Deschutes by lot, there is no associated with any particular mitigation. Is considered to be preservation.
So let me ask you a question.
When I used to attend those technical meetings, I raised the question whether this was part of the lot's core function.
There is that.
To purchase land with the ratepayers' dollars for purely preservation, where they don't have any known mitigation factors
or requirements.
So I raised that to Michael a couple of years ago, but so I did my due diligence.
Michael's true.
Yeah. Okay. Vice Chair.
I'm looking at this again, but it was purported to be for mitigation, and the word mitigation was in here. But
So my question wasn't to put you on the spot. I was just kind of curious where you're at in your thoughts.
Preserving habitat.
But I see it makes good logic though.
Okay. And that's going to be up tomorrow evening. Yes, sir.
I guess I would like to know, maybe you're the representative that I would ask, maybe after the fact, if you don't, is there some science that's showing
But you make a good point about
if you have a working septic system within 100 feet, is there a problem?
Yeah, I definitely have an
within 200 feet, within 10 yards. I don't know the answer to any of that. I'm wondering what they base that type of expenditure on. I mean, I'm sure their intentions are well, but I'd like to know, is there some actual science involved where we can show that with shy of setting this aside for that, we're going to have damage to water quality? And I mean, the only thing I keep coming back to this, we've got timber interests that are annually putting nitrogen in the headwaters of the Deschutes, and that's what we're talking about, is the Deschutes now. They're doing commercial fertilization.
7-inch o'clock.
And is it because of nitrogen, and is that why Lot is feeling that they need to expend these ratepayers' dollars to solve this problem? No. It has nothing to do with nitrogen outflow out of Capitol Lake or anything like that?
Or to help mitigate the TMDLs going, or nitrogen's going in the river, but it's not based on anything other than a third party saying, we would like you to do this. And so they're taking ratepayer money and doing this.
Without any particular science that you're aware of?
Nope, that's right.
Oh, there's a lot. All right.
So
So
do
thank you.
I hear
Do we
you
want to
give
take the grant or not?
staff the go-ahead? That's the decision point
Yeah, I
to
think we
secure the
want to go
grant?
ahead and do the grant so we can put together the plan. I mean, in my estimation, that's what we want to do.
Yeah. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you get 3 yeses.
Thank you. Marijuana?
Or bud.
That's about time.
This
Well,
bud's
bud.
for you. Oh, God.
Okay, so you know what I'm going to ask? Okay, sure, I'll wait.
We got maps.
I'm looking for the
Ooh,
overlay.
look at this.
The overlay dilemma we had last time. Or left with last time.
Do you want to lead with overlay, or do you want to?
I think that was the critical issue at hand. Why don't we just go straight to that and get it out of the way? And if there's any peripheral things, we'll cover that. So.
Okay. So for the marijuana overlay, we've been
Discussion.
looking at some options for the board to consider in the future. We're still analyzing these options. So these are only draft. We're not asking for any decisions today. Each of these options does exclude the rural, commercial, and industrial zones that are in South County, South Central County, so Maytown, Little Rock Road, Rochester, those areas. So the world of marijuana, in our currently permitted areas, we have 23 permits that have either been applied for or approved. I'm actually thinking 18 of those have actually been approved. We have 5 still under review. Yeah, it's a table on page 2. These permits are concentrated, for lack of a better word, in 4 primary areas, and we have maps of those 4 areas on pages 5 through 8 of the memo. The first one of them, and this goes into our whole analysis of where to apply this overlay, by the way. So there's the Mud Bay and Ronley Court area. This is an unincorporated county portion of the south end of Ells Inlet, and that's on page 5 of the memo. We have 7 marijuana locations in that area. 6 have been permitted, 1's under review. It's the Bayside Industrial Park, I believe. Then we have the Martin Way Corridor, which is area 2, which is on page 6. We have a total of 6 that are in this location. And with those, 3 are currently under review, 3 are permitted. That's the unincorporated Martin Way Corridor between Carpenter Road and Galaxy Drive. The third area is 93rd Avenue in Kimmy, the Tumwater Growth area. For this one, we have 4 marijuana businesses. And one of those marijuana businesses I've actually in conversation with about trying to find a relocation site because the owner of the building said, you need to find a new location. Found out through that process that the Liquor and Cannabis Board does not let them relocate their businesses in the cities if they're licensed in the county. They have to find another location in the county, which I thought was odd, but it's their restriction, and it was a retail business. So, from what I understand, he did find another site. And then the 4th location is the Grand Mountain Urban Growth Area. We have a total of 6 sites that have already been approved for permits. So that's the world of marijuana as it stands right now. The draft overlays that we are looking at, again on page 9, we have 3 maps for you. The first one on page 9 would allow marijuana businesses in the commercial industrial zoning in the urban growth areas, and then of course the Ronley and Mud Bay. And that would, with that option, we keep everyone who's already permitted as a conforming use, wouldn't change their status. It is probably the most permissive. It still does, of course, cut out those rural commercial industrial zones. Option 2 that we're analyzing on page 10 would cut out, would limit the overlay to the North County urban growth areas, so that's Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater, and the unincorporated growth area, and then the Ronley and Mud Bay with the concentration that's there. And then the third option that we've been analyzing would keep it to North County urban growth area, Lacey, Olympia, Tumwater again, Ronley, and Mud Bay, that concentration there. And then it would not allow any new marijuana businesses to go into the Grand Mountain UGA, but still grandfather them in as a conforming use. So they could still do their expansions and all that under our code. But that's just another option. If you remember, if we take the Grand Mountain area out and make them non-conforming, it would really limit their expansion to, I believe, 15%, and it's a cumulative expansion over time. So, but these are all things we're looking at. Our next steps on this overlay is we need to go back and look at the sensitive sites that are out there. We created a map for you a couple of years ago to show the 1,000-foot buffer on the sensitive sites. We need to go through each of these overlay alternatives and see how those sensitive sites will impact the available parcels for someone to relocate their business, and see what's left with that. One note on that, new licenses, is we don't, to my knowledge, we have no new licenses coming into the county at this time from LCB. They're closed off right now, so we're really just dealing with relocations.
You want to frame your question specifically?
No.
Does that answer what you're looking for?
Well, I got one question, but no new license.
No new license, and we've had no new permits since last August.
Oh, that's yeah, right. Since last August, yeah.
Have we had any people close up shop and go out of business?
Terminate.
That I don't know. I don't know that. I can check with LCB on their licenses to see if any have gone inactive in the county and where they're located. So.
I have one other issue on, something is going on in Lewis County to the south, and I think it developed into litigation. Do you know anything about that? Have you followed any of that they do or they don't allow it in Lewis County or specific areas?
Well, I remember that Lewis County's regulations, I'm going back to last spring.
Yeah.
Lewis County regulations had some interesting restrictions on it about federal approval and some others, and I don't know if they've changed those since then. I don't know if the lawsuit is around that. I do know that there was state legislation this last year that was specifically targeted towards jurisdictions that were not allowing marijuana businesses, and of course that bill failed, thankfully. So, and that bill would have preempted local jurisdiction regulation.
Okay.
Did you say the LCB has closed?
It's my understanding they're not issuing any new licenses right now.
They're not. They have like a freeze?
I think they probably hit a maximum canopy
They hit
level.
the cap.
Right, and I still need to go back and, before we bring it back for a full briefing, and check with them to see if there's been any updates on that. I also want to check with them to see if they've changed their licensing procedures based on a Kittitas County court case, where the court said if the local jurisdiction says it's not allowed, don't issue a license. So.
Okay.
And then prior to that, they were issuing regardless?
They were issuing regardless, and we had a lot of issues with that in Thurston
God,
County,
yeah.
Thurston County and others. It was a big issue.
Oh my God. It was a floodgate.
Yes.
It was a non-conforming
Yes.
use.
Caused all sorts of problems. People would go out there and go into business, and they didn't come to some permits, and we're like, you can't do that. So.
Now, you're in contact with the LCB, I would imagine.
Fairly regularly, not for the past few months, but fairly regularly with Frank Odell over there.
So if they open up applications again, is it surprise, we're open, or do they let you know ahead of time?
They send the county a notice when they actually are considering a new license, so we'll get notification.
But there's not going to be a blanket, we're open for service again?
I don't think so, but I don't know. I have to check with them.
Yeah, that's hard to tell.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gary.
For the county manager, are you comfortable with making a recommendation to the board?
At this point, it's not a recommendation. This is just an overview.
Yeah.
There is let's separate the two items, because right now you will be considering reissuing the interim regulation. I think it's coming up. Your public hearing in May 1st. So that's one path. That will give you another 6 months. What you're hearing right now, some options as to how you may consider a permanent regulation, marijuana regulation.
But we're not ready to make that decision at this point, right? Without the continuation of the
it is not
ordinance.
expected for you to make a decision today, no whatsoever.
No.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm good.
Well, what is the benefit impact of the overlay?
What the overlay...
Policy-wise.
Policy-wise, so overlay districts are regularly used in zoning ordinances for different things. We have one for impervious surface near Kinley. We also have the agricultural overlay, allowing more businesses.
Oh yeah, for the
right. And we have, I believe we have a couple others elsewhere in county, Call specifically. What this would allow us to do is cut out some of those more isolated rural commercial areas from where we currently permit marijuana. We have 3 rural commercial center zoned areas that are north of Grand Mound and in Rochester, where from other conversations I've gleaned, I don't know if the residents would exactly want a marijuana business in those areas. So the overlay would allow us to cut those out and further limit the geographic scope of where we allow marijuana businesses.
Provide more clarity.
Yeah.
Okay, and then now we have 3 overlays to choose from.
We have 3 draft options
That's
we're
what I'm saying.
analyzing
Yeah.
right now.
Oh, so we're not even a choice
Yeah,
yet.
we're not at a final recommended
Oh,
option state
okay.
yet. We still need to go back.
So you
and
won't have
look
them
at-
done before May 1st?
Not for May 1st, no.
No.
No, I have
No.
I'm working with our GIS staff to do some
Okay.
analysis on the area.
The intent of today's conversation was just to bring you up to speed as to where we left a few months ago, and we'll organize a formal briefing, and after you consider taking an action on extending the interim regulation, so we can start working on the details.
Sure.
And at that point is where you will be in the position to make a decision on
I
the
see where we're at
options.
now. That's good.
Lovely, man.
Any questions,
No.
comments?
No questions. Good work. Thank you, though, Jeremy.
Okay,
Thank you so much. You're awesome.
thank you. I'll come back and collect the map when you guys are done.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, I got Bud out of the way. Marijuana's out of the way, so we go back up to Criminal Justice Treatment Act letter.
Yes, this is a conversation that you had last week on the agenda setting April 3rd related to the a letter you received from the Department of Social and Health Services related to the Criminal Justice Treatment Account, the CJTA. And it changed. It gave you the option to either the county to take the responsibility to manage this the dollars, or have the BHO, as they currently have,
They came in
manage this dollar. So
Who
those
was
are
the
the
county?
those are the options that you have before you. And
the last time that Mark and Joe came in the brief, we had a general discussion that was leaning in the direction of the county managing these dollars versus the BHO. You can decide either way you want, but that was the way it was leaning. And I don't know if there's anything different to make that decision today or tomorrow or whatever. But that's the.
there is a deadline of April 23rd, 2018, in which we need to respond
Make a formal-
with what option you would like to take.
Mark and Joe's recommendation was to release it from the BHO to the county also. It would be much more of a benefit. I forget the details on that, but that's what I remember is the last words.
That's correct. I would also recommend that. It's because the BHO does not use the money for their programs. The county uses the money.
It's better management and alignment.
Do we take, are we able to take administrative costs off that money that comes in?
Could, up to 10%
10%.
allowed for admin.
And what kind of money are we looking at?
About $240,000 a year roughly.
Not much, yeah, not much. I mean, it's a chunk of dough.
Yeah, for somebody
Not
that
much, okay.
Right.
The
And
things-
you may also recall the majority is used to support
The drug court.
drug court,
Yeah.
with a very small
right,
amount
yeah.
currently going to public defense.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
So really,
The comment
the
is small
BHO really doesn't have a direct
A
role
role,
in managing
yeah.
this grant.
What is your,
I'm good with the recommendation.
I'm okay with changing it to the county. At what point, though, do we discuss maybe additional funding going to the public defense?
So there's a committee that's required to meet and make recommendations on how the funds are distributed. And then that recommendation is sent back to the state of Washington, who has to approve the recommendation. The committee is basically the same committee that meets as the treatment sales tax executive team, which is why I had said that that would be a natural fit if you were to put the money to flow through with oversight from TST. That committee meets on an annual basis, and now Carrie or Shelley would recommend or share with the board what those recommendations are.
So that's where that discussion would come in then? Okay. Thank you.
just one more note, and don't maybe be picky, but there's a relationship here, right? Larger than, so I do not know how Commissioner Drexler would feel about this from the BHO. I know Mark and Joe did, but her as an individual, I don't think she'd be opposed to it since it's a BHO releasing it, or, you see what I'm saying? And I would,
Yeah.
I want to go forward with this because I know the time zone, but I also want to be respectful of her thoughts on this.
And-
Pro or
well,
con,
that's a
I don't
good
know.
point.
Yeah, you're right,
I just want to make sure as a commissioner.
Good point.
So.
Who can call her? You guys can't call her and ask her
Well,
that,
no, it's not
can
the
you?
point. I think we meet actually Friday. I'll get my thing and we can ask her then, but I don't know.
So you want to coordinate to add this agenda item for the BHO?
Yeah, at least as a discussion point. Yeah, we meet at 9 o'clock on this
Friday
Friday.
morning, yeah.
So if I could just delay it till Friday, till noon or something like that and get you the answer.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
She might
So-
be con, she might be pro, but at least I want to give her the benefit.
So I'll bring this item next Tuesday.
Yeah. And I think we'll still meet the timeline, right?
The formal response has to be to the state by
24th or
April 23rd.
April 23rd, by leaving to the 17th. I'm going to be presumptuous, and maybe I can start drafting that response
be
letter.
presumptuous.
Have it ready.
And
And
you agree? Yeah, I think she'll be pro, but I don't want to speak. I want her to be able to speak her own mind.
So while I appreciate the respect for the commissioner, I would say that the state of Washington is giving this decision to Board of County Commissioners.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I see what you're saying. We'll address that in there, but I still want to because it is a Thurston Mason relationship. Is that all right?
And I agree with your assessment. I don't think she'll be anti or opposed, but out of respect, I think it's a good thing to do.
I assume that Mason County has also received a similar letter.
Yeah, this is a board member. That's all. This.
As the Board of County Commissioners, though, we kind of agree on what we're going to do,
We
right?
pretty much
Okay.
have it,
Okay. Okay. And that's not a Board of Health decision, it's a Board of County Commissioners decision. Okay.
Just one more little piece before we get to the actual 100% yes or no. Is that right?
Okay, well, there is
One more thing?
one more little piece, and that's which office or department within the county would you like
Oh.
this grant to go through?
Do we need to make that?
Because you can put it anywhere.
Oh, we did need to answer that. Yeah.
Like
I
a
had
caring.
recommended public health, and because there's a nexus
I
with
wanted to ask
the
Shelley if she wanted to receive it.
TST
Yeah.
executive team, but you could
On that
put it
same
in
note, then we'll
any-
delay just for one more till Friday and ask Shelley if she wants to receive it. She might say, I got too much, it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, whatever. I want to give her the right to say yes or no on that.
But there's always the possibility this could be beneficial if she can actually get 10% of it for
Yep.
administrative overhead.
That's why we hired
So-
her. She can do the math and everything, but the point is be able to give her that respect.
I'll give her a heads up.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is, are we done with the criminal justice? So Friday we'll have almost a final answer on everything. She's wanting me for some reason, I gotta go see what. Can you talk about the ECD letter of support? I know what it is, I gotta go see what Aaron. Can you bring up the EDC?
Come hither, please.
All rise.
All right,
Go
EDC.
ahead.
So Michael Cade requested a letter of support from the Board of County Commissioners for a governor's award. It's called the Smart Communities Award, based on the work from the TCEA, that's the Thurston Community Economic Alliance. That's where the EDC brought together all these different varying partners over the past year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
From the business community, the environmental community, government. Commissioner Chairman Blake was a part of this at the very beginning, before this commission had formed, and started the groundwork of how we want to envision our economic community for the future. Michael Cade at the EDC, the executive director, is really proud of that collaboration and would like to submit for this award. Our letter of support strengthens that submittal. There is no money that's attached to it from getting the Governor's Smart Community Award, but it does put the EDC and our community into a potential future better path for grants on growth management grants from the state. So no immediate cash, but potential future when the EDC applies for those opportunities.
Commissioner Edwards, any questions?
I'm good.
Is there, what's the deadline to get this in if we choose to do that?
It was a very short deadline, so if you, with your concurrence, if you choose to do so, we will have the letter ready today.
All right, then signed by the commissioner.
Yep.
Commissioner Nguyen. And this is a statewide competition?
Yeah, I believe so.
And when are the awards being made, a decision by the governor made, or did designees?
I'm not sure about that when, but I know the deadline is coming in terms of the submittal.
Okay.
But I'm not sure as to when they make the decision.
This is the first time we've put in, is that it?
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
When it's the first time, do you you don't have quite as good a chance as you did if you've done it 3 times prior, or what?
So Michael Cade's perspective is this hasn't been done like this before in Washington State, where an ADO, the Associate Development Organization, our EDC, brought together this broad group of people that came up with a singular idea and concept to move forward. So yeah, it's the first time that we're applying, but it's the first time it's also been
Everybody's applying them, okay.
in this TCEA, Thurston Community Economic Alliance.
And Michael Cade packages one heck of a package. It's just amazing with that man. It is truly amazing what he does.
And attached to your
Yes.
package is the application itself, which is very comprehensive.
My goodness. So are you looking for a thumbs up?
Yes, if you're okay, we'll finalize the letter for you to sign today.
We're
Okay.
done.
We're good. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. There's nothing on legislative update, or is there? Nope, scratch that. Squatson meeting. Let's get to this. That should be just a moment to talk about that.
Yeah, I'd just like to see what agenda items you would like to have. You'd like to have an upcoming meeting with the Squatchons. That's the follow-up meeting that we have earlier in the year. And this is scheduled for April 30th at their casino.
Right.
And they're hosting lunch, I believe. So if you have any particular item that you would like to discuss, let me know and we'll add it to the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Does that take care of that?
Well,
So
I know, yeah,
I was hoping
I have an item.
come up with
If,
an
Oh, you want it now? Oh, okay. I missed that.
I kind of want to talk about our culvert program and how we're expending,
Okay.
how many million? 4 million? 4 million this year? Isn't it? Something like that for salmon enhancement?
Yep. We have locations where...
And I would like to see at some point that instead of just have capital outlay out of that we use maybe some of that money as matching grant money or something to be able to do more. And I think anytime you can partnership with one of the entities of concern, which would be a tribal entity in this case, I think we can maybe receive more money to do more.
So what I'm hearing is the proposal, we are on item number 2, Commissioner. Perhaps Commissioner, it was suggested for the county to provide an update on the fish passage projects.
That's the deputy rep.
And is there any other items? And I'll work with Public Works to give us a one-pager that I can distribute at the meeting, and I can walk them through some of the...
But, okay.
That's what we're doing. What are they?
They're doing the same thing.
But I want to ask of them that we maybe do some of this together and use some of our money to use it as seed money or matching money or whatever. So instead of expending $4 million, we do $8 million worth of projects or something. I mean, why not do what we can do? There seems to be an interest at the state level, especially, to move forward, and at the federal level.
Maybe by bringing this item to, as a matter of status reports where we are on the projects, may open up the opportunity to have those conversations to how we can partner in the future.
And even do more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
It seems the notes taken at the last meeting we had, 6 weeks ago or so with the tribe, that there was some follow-up that we were going to be doing, or they were going to be doing, and I don't remember what that was, but there was some good note-taking, I think, by
Yeah,
Aaron.
we follow up on they were interested on the Purple Heart ordinance, which we follow up and submitted that.
Okay.
And as you may recall, the rest of the meeting was just a good get-to-know meeting.
Okay. Okay.
understanding that a little more in detail items will come up in this
It
meeting.
was a Purple Heart issue, I was thinking in my head, yeah. Thinking, I knew there was something sticking out. I can't think of another topic, though.
One of the other topics we talked about was just commercial nitrogen application in the waters of western Washington. And I'd like just to ask if there's any more information around that particular topic. I know it was mentioned they might have a baseline study from years ago. They made some mention about that. So I'd just like to follow up on that particular topic on water quality.
Water quality where?
Any of the rivers and such going into the ocean. Salmon enhancement. It all comes back to salmon. And, yeah, although it doesn't directly affect us in that regard, but if you look at the Cascade Range, salmon enhancement in general, cleanup of Puget Sound, it all ties in.
A topic you want to put on to talk about in the future? Or the one to talk about?
I'd bring it up at our meeting. I'm not saying we have a solution, I think it's just worth discussing what's going on.
To continue the conversation.
Yes, just to continue the conversation,
I will add,
that's all.
If you're okay with the rest of the board members, I will add this to the agenda items of water quality.
The critical piece there is, I think her name was Vicky, to reiterate how she went to the North Canada and
yeah. She made her sick or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So I have two items.
And I have a third.
Okay.
The third is to talk about how we're going to talk about in the future the Deschutes estuary issue. We're not going to push that under the table because I was in the room and
so the Capitol Lake project?
Yeah, sure. You can say it that way. Squatching tribe representatives there and I were in total agreement on how the process should work for the selection of the RFP for the consultant. I was pleasantly surprised that he wanted to know the same details I did and make sure there was a fair and balanced approach. Okay. And I was quite relieved that we were on the same sheet of music. So I think that was a great opener that just came together to say at least we've talked about that aspect. We might disagree on some things in the future, but I want to know how we agree to disagree and how we agree to agree.
Okay.
And that's how, at least that framework. Because it might come to a point where we don't agree on something, and I don't want it to be a vitriolic thing. That's how I've been pitching it when I go to the executive sessions, and that's what I was trying to pitch with the climate control or climate plan thing. Because there might come a time we might not always agree, but I don't want to walk on the table, but I don't want to be I just want to be a mutual respectful thing that we're not always going to agree on every topic. We'll try our best to, that's not the point, but we just come to it, and I don't want to have any surprises.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. So just I have three items, and I think that probably maybe enough.
Mine is just to address the title of that.
Yeah, I'm not looking to add another item. I'd just like to further the conversation a little bit, because when you talk about the estuary and Capitol Lake, it is about nitrogen, and it's just not being addressed properly. I mean, they talk about it, well, you can't have another septic tank on a piece of property, but they don't consider the commercial application of nitrogen in the whole scheme of things, which is directly related to water quality in Capitol Lake.
But talking about them with process, regard to process and expectations, you're right, it's not a topic to be avoided. Whether you agree or disagree, you can't avoid it. You've got to talk it out.
And this will be a good setting just to have an open conversation. Right. And I think you're right on point. We not necessarily have to agree on everything, but at least having the channels of communication open is always healthy.
Right. Yeah. Super healthy.
Yeah, and I believe that probably may be the gist of how we can open the conversation, because the issue is so complex that it is not expected. In emotional, there's not expected to have any resolution at that meeting, but at least setting the stage as to how the communication should work is on point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll add that. Okay.
That's to me a healthy relationship. Yeah. Even if you disagree. Okay. We got to the EDC letter.
Going to get all the facts in the mix again.
Okay. Now at the first quarter budget. we have a decision for this yet? No.
So what we're asking today is for a line-by-line decision on the budget amendment, the first budget amendment this year.
Okay, went off my desk.
Is a copy on the attachments.
I got notes.
He's got notes on his other one.
I have some of these copies, but notes on them. Got the one,
Looks like this.
yes, this one. But look at page 2, page 3. Is it penned in,
Yep.
the amounts there?
This
I
must
have-
be Romero's notes.
Those
Do I
are,
have the Romero's?
those are my notes. Those are my notes. Sorry.
Do you have a copy of?
I didn't know if I had someone's original. I was gonna
No.
say-
That's my notes.
All right, thank you.
Please don't pay attention to my scribbles.
I have clean copies if you would like them.
No, it's fine.
I'm good.
All righty. We've already reviewed all these, so there's back section, kind of, is there a point of conversation that anybody want to bring up and start it? 'Cause I know where I want to go on one, so.
I was going to just work my way down
As normal?
1, 2, 3,
All right.
4, and get a thumbs up, thumbs down.
We're on the
if that
carryover,
works for you.
you're on detail, right?
I am on attachment B, which is the detailed report. We are not reviewing, unless you want to, all of the carryover projects, which I believe that you have already.
That was the second part of the other report.
You have a carryover.
That's
Right here, the title, carryover.
Carryovers are
It's
easy.
about the 8th page of this
Yeah, I
document.
see there.
They've already been approved, just pushing to this year, that's all.
Yep. Yep, those are for projects that are already underway. Right, so
Do I have concurrence on just go ahead and do the carryovers as presented?
Which page did you say it was?
So it's this page, it's attachment C, it's about 8 pages in.
There it is.
Yeah, but it starts
On page 1.
on page 1, right? Right here.
There you go.
Okay.
So reiterate the number it is.
So all of these are projects that have already begun. Not as much money was spent last year.
Oh, yeah,
Been
yeah,
able to
okay.
keep
I see it.
going.
Yep.
So
I'm with it.
do I hear concurrence, just for the notes, concurrence on the
Yep.
carryovers to move ahead as presented?
Yes.
Good. All right.
Got that on.
We'll-
Now we're on detail.
Yeah.
Now we're-
Yep. Okay.
So I'm just going to go line by line, and the way we're going to do this is stop me if you have questions or if you don't agree. If I hear nothing, I'm going to assume
Nothing.
consent on going forward with the item. Does that work for all of you? Is that going to work for the? Yes? Okay, because that's, I think, the quickest way to go through this list.
Okay.
So number 1 is for the auditor for the passport placement.
Before you start, I'd just like to, the proposed first quarter budget amendments as presented in this document, they in the general fund, they generate revenue of 1.7 million, and the request of additional expenditures is $4,010,000. Okay, so there is a little bit of homework as to what we need, how we can reduce that, because we cannot afford all the requests as presented to you. I just want to frame that, what will be the objective when you make the decisions of line item by line item. Sorry.
Okay. So line number 1, the passport program, I'm recommending approval. Line number 2 is, and 3, 2 and 3 are the reduction that the legislature, the state legislature made to our court impact fees. That's a reduction in revenue of $400,000.
And there's nothing we can do about that.
There's nothing we can do about that. Line 4 is increase in revenue to the district court. We are maximizing the receipt of the treatment sales tax, and they were not fully funded for the courts. Line 5.
But now they will be?
Yes, this this addition fully funds the court for mental health and veterans courts. Line 5 is also for mental health and veteran courts. It provides treatment sales tax funds.
I do have a question, though, on the treatment sales tax. How come it shows it as general fund? It's just going to the general fund?
It's revenue into the general fund.
Yeah, okay.
And then the direct expenditure is made from the general fund.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Line 5 is also treatment sales tax for mental health and veterans courts. It's to fund treatment for the participants.
Okay.
Line 6 is for juvenile court. It is for technical adjustment for the purchase of a copier, and the same is true of line 7 for the prosecutor. We have to do these technical bookings when we purchase copying sheets.
When that comes out of the general fund, and you've got this rule, one fund can't benefit another fund, or whatever it is there any reason, because TST, is involved in juvenile, that it couldn't come out of that fund instead of the general fund? How they're going to use it on some of that stuff. What's the requirement? They use it on 10%, 20%, 30%? I don't understand. I'm not sure. I'm always looking for a way to get at something besides general fund.
Right.
Is it possible?
So as I said, these are technical accounting entries.
Right.
And really what they are is they're not an expenditure. We're not going to spend $50,000 in cash.
Okay.
This is the reporting of the asset in our system in accordance with
Okay.
standards.
Good enough. Okay.
So just to finish that thought, as you expense it over the years, that cost is allocated amongst all eligible funding streams.
Okay.
So part of it will be paid.
It's going to pick it up in some fashion or another. Okay, got it. Okay, good enough.
It's technical. So the next item, line 8, the prosecutor's office has received a burn grant award. They have $13,000 left to spend this year, so you see the revenue and the expenditure. Line 9 is also burn grant.
I'm curious, how come that wasn't in the carryover portion that we just said go ahead with?
That is because it is general fund, so we always highlight general fund separate from the other funds. I can certainly
No. I'm just curious because some is, some isn't.
You generally want more detail about the general fund.
Yeah. Good.
Line 10 for the prosecutor, they've received a Target Zero grant. This covers items that are already in their budget. The same is true of line 11. It's a grant related to food stamp fraud. Line 12 is a request from the sheriff to provide funding for overtime for law enforcement in the amount of $268,964.
Does anybody have a comment on that?
I thought we were waiting until third quarter to...
Nope. It's not going to be a third quarter amendment.
Okay, what's...
No, but there will be a final amendment of the year.
That's what
So
you're waiting
my recommendation...
Okay, I just remember the discussion. We were going to hold and delay, holding pattern, whatever you want to call it.
So in this case, the decision is, would you like to include in the first quarter budget amendment or not?
No.
That is...
No.
No,
Okay.
yeah, that's right.
So we'll remove this.
And there was some discussion on... Okay, never mind. Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to remove this from the First Amendment, but we will monitor the sheriff's budget and it will...
Not saying no, though, either. That's the thing.
Exactly. We'll
Not
monitor...
yet.
Postponing
that.
or whatever.
Okay. The next item on page 2, line 13, is also from the sheriff. The sheriff is requesting $386,319 for 2 additional deputies. 2 additional deputies.
So,
To make the 4?
no.
Make the 6?
So I believe this request was submitted prior to you making a decision to create last week 2 additional deputies.
Okay, that's it.
And also, as you may recall, the Sheriff's Office agreed they will cover the expenditures in 2018 within the allocated budget for the 2 new deputies.
Yep.
I'd just like to bring to your attention, included in your packet, is the 2 reports of the year-end report for the Sheriff's Office. One is labeled as March 6, 2018, which has a yellow highlight on the bottom line. That was provided where they have leftover money of $10,000, $878.
That's pretty tight.
That was the information that you used to approve the 2 new deputies, because the commitment from the Sheriff's Office was to absorb that in 2018. We received yesterday another forecast, which now they show $223,000, $266,000 in the hole.
How is that possible?
I don't know, because what has changed in a period of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, don't know.
Did we authorize those FTE positions already?
Yes, last week.
Yes, but did we assign positions and everything, and it automatically moves forward?
Automatically moves forward.
If we did that based on this, and then we get another estimate a week later that's
right
in the hole, almost what we need to do to move forward with that, how's that work? Is that a shell game, or what's going on?
I don't want to answer that question, Commissioner. I'm just presenting the information that we have received to you.
We need a discussion with the sheriff representative.
Well, yeah, but if we're required to, if we're going to move forward, do we need to put a timeout on that last week's approval, or what do we need to do on that?
So just bear in mind that right now the Sheriff's Office has budget authority. They're not running in the red in the first quarter. This is just a projection what they're submitting. Okay.
Okay.
So you do have some options. I think it bears a discussion with the sheriff that there was such a drastic change in
within the week.
And you asked, could you put a hold on the positions? You could, because the board authorizes positions. That is possible, if that's what you would want to do. Other options are to, in your conversation with the sheriff, you might have a conversation about managing within the budget that's been approved. And send a signal, if you will, to the sheriff that the board doesn't intend to increase the budget. If that is a message that you're going to send to the sheriff, then it's better coming earlier in the year when he has an opportunity to figure out how to manage this, rather than later in the year when the money's already spent.
Didn't we get something in writing? Didn't we get something in writing as we moved forward with this?
From the undersheriff?
Yes.
If you approve those 2 positions, they will be...
They would have it within
They will absorb within the current allocation. That was an email that I received from the undersheriff.
Right.
And that's included in your packet as well.
Okay.
So item 13, no.
It looks like this, the email from the undersheriff.
Well, I don't think we were going to do it. Anyway, we were postponing, weren't we?
So it goes back to line item 13. What will be your decision? So I hear 2 no's.
Yeah.
put
But-
in subsequent to our approval of 2
Yeah.
last week,
Yeah.
so no.
But we still need to have a discussion on this. Yes, yeah.
And throw in the
I-
sergeant.
Yeah, I've heard also the undersheriff is planning to submit a request, and it was a meeting yesterday, but due to the deputy sheriff's incident was canceled. The sheriff's office is planning to submit a request for the board to consider to promoting 2 existing road deputies to sergeants. I had some concerns and some questions that I'd like to ask the undersheriff, because if the intent was to put 2 more deputies on the road, by you creating those 2 new deputies and by the request of taking 2 deputies off the road and making them sergeants, it's still going to be zero net impact to your efforts. But I need to clarify as to what the intent is.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
the sheriff.
there can be a sergeant that works on the road. I mean,
So that's what I need to have a conversation, but that's a request that it might be coming up to you as well.
Okay.
The whole sergeant aspect wasn't part of any of the 2 deputies.
But sergeant, I don't know if the sergeant is included in minimum staffing, or the sergeant just manages the minimum
No,
staffing.
I think
So it
it's
still
included.
may impact-
I think it's included in the minimum
Still may
staffing.
impact overtime negatively.
So I don't have all the answers because, again, the meeting was canceled yesterday, but that is something that might be coming up for...
Is that because the deputy had a heart attack or something? Is that why it was canceled?
Yeah, that's what is canceled.
Another aspect, yeah.
Okay.
So more to come
Okay,
on
we're on
the
13.
sheriff, but on line 13, your direction is to remove this from this
Yes,
First
remove.
Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So
So line 14 is also from the sheriff. The sheriff has received funding to pay for ammunition that is used by the SWAT team, and the cities contribute
That's
to the
okay,
cost,
yeah.
so it's covered.
Yeah.
Line 15 is a grant from
Yep.
WASPIC to pay for equipment.
Yep.
The revenue covers the expense. Line 16 is for the sheriff. The sheriff receives funding from the Nisqually tribes and the Bucota contract funds. So it's a request to spend the award from the Nisqually that was booked last year in December, and then also for the grant. It's a small amount, I recommend approval. Line 17 for the sheriff is grants from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, and the revenue covers the expense. Line 18 is for corrections. It is a request to fund $1,014,935 of projected overtime costs. And like in law enforcement, our recommendation is to not fund this in this amendment, but to monitor the sheriff's budget over the year and reconsider it at a later date.
And right now, the corrections have, I believe, 7 to 8 vacancies. So there's a salary savings with that. They help him manage the additional overtime.
So I'm pausing to ask if you would like to remove this or
Remove and postpone.
remove and postpone.
How about you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item also for corrections is the anticipated cost of housing contracts above and beyond to send the inmates to other counties due to population. And again, we recommend that this is removed from this amendment, continue to monitor and postpone, but review later, because the population action team may have some impact and bring the population down. So
What number is that?
that
Rob?
is line 19.
19, okay, there it is.
So I'm pausing to ask if you would like to similarly remove and postpone consideration of this.
Yes.
Yes. Line 20 is additional corrections staff. The sheriff is asking for 6 correction deputies for additional posts at the jail. Very soon you will have a briefing from the contractor who we brought on for the staffing study at the jail. I believe that the recommendation is going to be somewhere between 6 and 12 FTEs for the jail. Should you wish to go forward with this, my recommendation is that it would come from detention sales tax rather than the general fund.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I would also recommend that you hold your approval on this item until you have seen the staffing study.
Well, if we know it's going to be
I'm pretty sure.
6 or 12, why not just move ahead with it? Because the delay in hiring and stuff is, and make a designation that it come from.
May I suggest, commissioners?
Okay.
I think it will be a good approach to wait until you hear the report, you hear the whole context of the staffing needs of the corrections, and at that point you may take an action to be responsive.
Okay.
As to the results of that report.
And this one we're waiting for a report.
Right, and the briefing is already on your books. Is it next week?
I think it's early May.
Okay, I got it.
Out in May.
I'm good.
It's coming up.
Okay.
So we will remove this in anticipation of the staffing study.
That's
report.
number 20.
That is
Yep.
line 20.
Okay.
Line 21 is also from corrections. It is to align the treatment sales tax funding. It's increasing the amount coming in, but decreasing the amount that the sheriff's office actually needs for this program. But we're still going to maximize funding coming in to cover indirect costs.
That's a reduction of 45, and you're recommending that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Line 22 is...
Gary, all right?
Yep.
All right.
Line 22 is for non-departmental. This is to pay for vehicle M&O costs that were incurred by the Lake Management District 2 years ago. So this is a payment to ER&R from the general fund instead of the Lake Management District funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Line 23, also for non-departmental, this is $500,000 in revenue from a rebate from the unemployment compensation fund. The rates are too high, and all funds are receiving a rebate from that fund.
And that was to mitigate retiring the bad debt related to the juvenile court.
Line 24 is also non-departmental. This is for the franchise renewal. This is to pay for the attorney that's providing legal services for the franchise renewal. You will recall that the franchise is currently paying approximately $1.9 million to the county. The contract for the attorney will cost $107,000, and the cities are contributing to that. So the county share is about $50,000. The cities will pay in $57,000.
Right.
Line 25 is, and line 26, you take those together. This is an allocation of cost of living adjustments. This money was parked, if you will, in the general fund in non-departmental until the union contracts were signed and we knew the COLA amount. It is now being distributed to all offices and departments. Line 27, also in non-departmental. This is the payment for the remodel of the Benechek building. It's being paid from the revenue that you see on line 28. which is the proceeds of the sale of the McLean building. We had to, as you know, remodel the Penachek building so that our WSU Extension Office had a place to move into. So we're using the $438,000 of the proceeds from the McLean sale, and the remaining $219,000 remains in the general fund and available for commissioners when you decide a project that you would like to spend it on. This money is there for your use. It's currently not tagged for any specific project. Line 29 is the proceeds of the sale of the 6th Avenue building. In the same way, the amount of that sale was deposited into the general fund. We're putting an appropriation of the same amount into the non-departmental so that it is available should the board decide on projects that you'd like to pay for. It is not currently being used for any other project. Line 30 is for the Office of Public Defense. It is again one of those technical copy lease entries that we have to make. It's just a technical entry. And line 31 is the last entry for the general fund. It is for your long-term planning department. This is the new National Estuary Grant that is being received, and it will fund an additional associate planner FTE. The revenue covers the cost. So that's all of your general fund items. The taking out the items for the sheriff reduces your costs so that I don't have the number handy, but the total general fund expenditures are now less than the increase in the general fund revenue for this amendment. Moving on to the other funds, line 32 is for the Victim Advocate Program Fund for the prosecutor. They have received an award from the Nisqually tribe, so the grant covers the new expenditures. Lines 33 through 36 are all from the treatment sales tax program. You see in the notes that they're related to lines that you reviewed in the general fund, so they cover the district court costs, the court's treatment costs, the adjustment for the sheriff, and the adjustment in cost of living for all of the offices that receive that. Line 37 on page 4 is for the road and transportation. This is, and I'm going to stop after I say what this is. This is $1 billion for...
That's a maybe, a maybe.
Exactly. This is the trestle. So this is there should you decide to go forward, but you may want to take this off of the amendment and review it at a later date. This is the $1 million trestle project.
Why do you say that? I thought it was just on there so we could move forward if we needed to move forward.
We can certainly do the appropriation with the caveat that no work be done without prior approval of the Board of County Commissioners.
You know, that's kind of, I thought that's where we were on that particular.
Then we can certainly do that.
That would be my recommendation.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, good. Then we'll leave it on. Line 38 is from REIT 2. It's $350,000 to pay. If you look on line 37, it's got $1 million in revenue. That revenue is coming from lines 38 and 39, $350,000 from REIT 2, and $650,000 from the park impact fees. Line 40 and 41 go together. That is for the roads fund to pay a project it's an emergency project, if you will, to address ADA concerns on the McLean Trail. That's being paid with revenue from the real estate excise tax fund. Line 42 and 43 is an adjustment to the solid waste payments from ER&R. This is technical, moving it to the appropriate fund. Lines 44 and 45 are for the park impact fee rate study. It'll be paid out of the road fund with reimbursement from the park impact fee fund. Line 46 is for your from the Stadium Convention and Arts Center Fund, which the board uses for the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. This is for tourism promotion, and the board has approved $11,000 in awards above the current budget. So this covers the full amount of the awards and still leaves a substantial amount in this fund. Line 47 is for noxious weeds. It is grant money received to do work on weed cleanup, and the same is true of line 48 and 49. These are grants coming in to noxious weeds. The expenses have already been budgeted. Line 50 is for the sheriff. It is for expenditure authority for boating funds that have come in. The sheriff provides boating education and enforcement activity on our lakes. Line 51 is a reduction for public health and social services. This is to align their expenditures with available revenue, and they will be reducing 2.5 FTEs that are currently vacant. Line 52, also for public health and social services. This is a reduction in expenditure authority. This is a payment that they do not need to make, and so they don't need this authority. They had thought they would have to make this payment to the BHO, but they do not. Line 53 and 54 is the revenue to the Lake Management District. This is to pay those E&R costs that we saw under the general fund.
55 and 56 are kind of conduct, aren't they there?
55 and 56 removes the payments that are going to the ER&R reserve.
Okay.
Long Lake not needing to make those payments, Long Lake and Lake Lawrence. And then line 57 is to remove the contribution. 55, 56, and 57 is because the lake management districts were paying in for the replacement of vehicles, and they won't be having their own vehicles, so they no longer need to make those payments. Line 58 is the basin funding and enhancement project. This is to cover salaries for positions doing work related to water availability, such as the Hearst decision. This fund has sufficient money available to make those payments. And then line 59, you're moving those costs out of the storm and surface water utility fund. So it's a net zero. It's just moving expenses between funds. Line 60 is for the land use permitting fund. This is funding coming in as a result of the state legislation to impose $500 non-exempt well fees. So there will be $15,000 in revenue in this fund from implementing those fees. Line 61 is a road fund. This is for countywide resurfacing and restoration projects. There is additional federal money coming into the county in the amount of approximately $1.4 million. This is authorization to spend that money. Part of it will be used for overhead costs. Line 62 is also for the road fund. It is an increase in grant revenue for a variety of projects in the amount of $235,000. Line 63 is also the road fund. It is $500,000 in revenue that will be used for the Independence Road construction project. This is the project that you heard earlier.
I could do that project for about $60,000. If you'd let me. But I'd kill a few frogs.
So the next four lines, 64, 65, 66, and 67, are all related to taking the real estate excise tax fund and dividing it into two funds as required under state law. So these numbers all net out to zero. It's just moving the money to where it should be.
Does it allow us to have any more flexibility on utilization of those?
No, absolutely.
Absolutely not. Okay.
But good question.
Yeah, that's right. Keep asking. We can get you the things that you can use it for. As you saw, there's some capacity and opportunity in those.
Yeah.
Line 68 is for your solid waste.
Okay, can I ask you just one thing? That $4 million we're taking out of REIT 2 to do salmon enhancement, is that already out of this?
Yeah, it's already included.
Already out. Okay. Okay.
Line 68 is solid waste. They've received a litter control grant and are asking to spend a part of that grant award. Line 69 is the request not for a new vehicle for stormwater, but what they're doing is taking two vehicles that we currently have in surplus and repurposing, but they have to pay the funds that originally purchased the vehicles for the fair value of those vehicles. So $12,000 instead of the higher cost to buy new vehicles. And line 70 is central services receiving the money to allocate to the appropriate area. Line 71 is adding the position for a building inspector for your CPED department, and line 72 is the vehicle that goes with that building inspector for central services to order and pay for the vehicle.
When on that one for the $82,000 for the additional building inspector, did they mention anything in there about the ability to use technology, Skype, whatever? He might know about 2x4s, but does he know about the whole Skype business? I mean, can you put that in the process?
That's part of the long-term plan, absolutely. But I think right now there is a need for inspections. Yeah. And without having the Skype program in place, I don't think we're going to be able to keep up with the inspection requirements.
Okay.
So I think we're on line 73, right? So this is $20,000 for the increased cost for the sludge hauling contract for the Grand Mound sewer utility. Line 74 is the unemployment compensation rebate. This is the money coming out of the unemployment compensation fund. You already saw the entry of $500,000 for the general fund, and line 75 is the $330,833 that's rebated to all the other funds that have paid in.
Is that a typo where it says 333333? It's really supposed to be 330833?
No,
on
line 74.
74, yeah.
No, it's 833.
Pardon?
It's 833,000.
There's something wrong.
Is that what you're asking?
But there's something wrong there.
Right. We'll double check that number.
I mean, just.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I just wondered if it was a test to see if we'd catch it or not.
Line 76 and 77 will be removed, as you have removed both those items from the general fund. These would have paid for vehicles and equipment for new positions. Line 78 is the $465,000 that will come out of Central Service Reserve. This is the reserve for the Mary Elder Building that the BHO now owns. So the reserve fund for that building will go to the BHO.
No way we can keep that, or,
There is no way. That's been paid in from Medicaid, RSN dollars in the past. This money has to go.
did we sweep that, did we at least sweep the interest?
I will have to look
God.
at the sweeping interest from that fund. Line 79 is the revenue coming in from the Benechek remodel. This we saw in the chart.
Oh, God.
So that brings us to a grand total. I don't have the new total amounts for you, but I believe that at the bottom line, the revenue and the expenditures pretty much net out.
Pretty much what?
Net out. They're pretty equal.
How come one's 14 million and the other's 24 million?
Well, at this point, that includes all of the items for the sheriff that are currently.
Oh, we didn't subtract that 3 million?
That's right. So.
It still won't come out right, though.
I've reviewed all the other documents, and unless you have any questions or comments for me, that is your budget, your supplemental budget.
This is a necessary evil that we have to go through, right?
Better.
Okay.
And this one, the next two won't be nearly this big. People have taken to heart your direction that certain things should come at certain times. So this particular amendment is probably going to be the biggest one of the year.
But the biggest amounts of that are going to be carried forward, or something like wait and see, or. No.
All right. Thank you very much.
That was a marathon session, Commissioners. Thank you.
Sorry, PIO.
So we don't get to hear from PIOs?
Yeah.